10 babies in one pregnancy, their mysterious husband is not to be messed with. She became a surrogate mother for her family, but was framed by a scumbag and a bitch and lost everything. When she returned, the entertainment industry suddenly changed, causing her to accidentally discover a shocking secret. Chapter 1, Be Gentle. Meng Liangting, 22 years old, graduate of the top university in the country, good-looking, healthy, no sexual history. The middle-aged man in the office put down the documents and looked at Meng Liangting with disdain, then asked suspiciously, "Are you sure you want to be a surrogate?" Meng Liangting, with a slight sweat on her palm, tightly gripped the corner of her clothes and gritted her teeth. "Yes. Sign this agreement, and then wait for me in VIP room 32 at GEN Hotel tonight," the man said as he threw the document at her. "What about the money?" Meng Liangting hesitated and asked. "Don't worry. After you get pregnant within 3 days, the surrogacy fee will be transferred to your account on time," the man sneered. He thought to himself, today's high-achieving students would even sell themselves for money. What if I'm carrying twins? Meng Liangting had seen an advertisement that promised double the price for twins. She really needed the money. Then it's 20 million. But the chances are almost zero. You better get ready for the sponsor to arrive. The man's eyebrow raised slightly, his voice full of contempt. That night, at GEN Hotel, Liangting, wearing a white silk camisole nightgown, lay on the goose feather mattress, feeling nervous. This was her first time. Creak. The door was gently pushed open. In the dark, a tall figure walked towards Meng Liangting. From his outline, it was clear that this man's build was extraordinary. A warm hand covered her belly, and with a swift move, the man ripped off her silk nightgown. His strong body, with the heat of masculinity, immediately pressed down on the petite Meng Liangting. "Twins? You little woman actually dare to think of that?" The man's magnetic voice mocked her from above. "This is my own decision, so just do it quickly." Meng Liangting said coldly, but her body trembled uncontrollably. "Can't wait for the money," the man teased as he blew warm breath in her ear. His seductive voice sent a shiver down her spine. "R." A sharp pain shot through her, and Meng Liangting gasped in pain. She grabbed onto the man's neck, almost passing out from the pain. After a night of forceful assault, Meng Liangting finally fell asleep from exhaustion. When she woke up, the man was already gone. Looking at the crimson stain on the white sheets, Meng Liangting hugged her tiny body with both hands, tears welling up in her eyes. "As long as I get pregnant, Dad's company will be saved, and Songmu and I will be together. I just need to hold on. Everything will get better." Just then, the door suddenly opened. A woman, about 40 years old, walked in and spoke harshly. "I'm Aunt Ju, the one who has been taking care of you these days. After you're pregnant, you'll move to a villa in the suburbs. If you can't get pregnant, then get out, and don't expect a single penny." "I will get pregnant," Meng Liangting said through gritted teeth, her big eyes full of determination. "Let us hope so," Aunt Ju mocked with a smile. In the following days, the man would come to their hotel again and again, taking her body apart in the dark, making the days feel like a nightmare. Finally, it was over. A month later, Meng Liangting was confirmed pregnant. She moved to a suburban villa to rest during her pregnancy. The large house was just for her and Aunt Ju. "Miss Meng, 1 million has been transferred to the account you specified. From now on, you are not allowed to leave the house or have any contact with the outside world. You'll only gain your freedom after you give birth to the child," Aunt Ju said as she put down her luggage. "Aunt Ju, I want to ask if my dad has received the money. I'm really worried about him. He is the only family I have. Please let me call him, okay?" Meng Liangting sobbed. "Calling is not allowed, but I'll allow you to send a text message," Aunt Ju said, her tone softening as she looked at the crying Meng Liangting. Thank you. I'll be fine soon." Meng Liangting wiped away her tears and quickly typed a message, pressing send. 10 months later. At the largest hospital in Jin City, Meng Liangting lay in the operating room, sweating heavily, screaming in pain. "Push a little harder, it will be over soon." The doctors and nurses were busy moving around. Wow. After hearing the baby's first cry, Meng Liangting passed out from the pain. When she woke up, she was already in a hospital room. Aunt Ju was packing things, holding the baby and preparing to leave. "Aunt Ju, are you holding my baby?" Meng Liangting weakly asked, her eyes red. Aunt Ju turned around and looked at her with an unfriendly tone. Remember, this child doesn't belong to you, from the moment you got pregnant until the birth, it's just part of the deal with us. Tears rolled down Meng Liangting's face, her voice barely a whisper, I understand. But, can I just see him, just once? She had felt the pain of giving birth to him and the subtle bond she had while carrying him. She just wanted to see him from a distance. But Aunt Ju refused to give her that chance. The moment the child was born, he was no longer yours. What are you looking at? The costs for your rest will be covered, but once you're healed, just leave. With that, Aunt Ju turned and walked away without a hint of sympathy. At that moment, Aunt Li, who had been working as a housekeeper in her home, suddenly called. Meng Liangting hadn't had much contact with her family during her pregnancy. Hello, Aunt Li, what's wrong? Meng Liangting asked. Now that she had safely given birth, she could contact her family. Aunt Li's voice trembled with tears. Miss, I'm finally able to reach you. Where have you been these 10 months? The Meng family is in big trouble. I've been kicked out. Now I have to go back to my hometown and farm. Sigh. You need to come home and check on it. Aunt Li, what happened? Is it that my dad's company is in trouble again? Meng Liangting asked anxiously. A sense of foreboding swept over her. Could it be that the money she had hoped would save the Meng family didn't work? Sigh. Mr. Meng passed away. Aunt Li said, her voice breaking into soft sobs. She had been with the Meng family for many years and had a deep connection with them. Meng Liangting's head exploded with a loud thud. She didn't even hang up the phone. Ignoring the pain after childbirth, she immediately stood up, dressed, and rushed home. Bang! Meng Liangting slammed the door open at the villa. The household staff had changed. What was going on? A sense of unease flashed through Meng Liangting's heart. Wow, look who's back, the fallen young lady of the Meng family. Did you really think this was still your home? Her stepmother, Zhu Lijuan, sneered at her. Zhu Lijuan, where's my dad? What are you doing in my villa? This house was left to me by my mom. Meng Liangting asked coldly. Is this still your villa? This house was bought by me at an auction. As for your useless father, he was driven to death by his creditors, he had a heart attack and died. Zhu Lijuan mocked. Impossible. My father didn't have heart disease. Meng Liangting turned around and saw Songmu sitting on the sofa, laughing with Meng Ranran beside him. Chapter 2, Enemies Meet and Eyes Turn Red. Songmu. She ran forward, hoping to get some answers from the person she once considered her only source of support. What's going on? Songmu pushed up his glasses, looking at her with disdain. Just like Aunt Ju said, your father died of a heart attack. Liangting, you've been gone for so long. We thought you were dead, killed by your dad's creditors. Who would have thought you'd come back? Meng Ranran sneered at her. You're lying. I clearly sent money to my dad. He couldn't have died, he didn't have heart disease. Meng Liangting retorted, suddenly realizing something. She shouted angrily, I know. It was you too. You and your evil mother took my dad's money and caused his death, didn't you? She yelled hysterically, trying to rush at Meng Ranran for an explanation, but Songmu grabbed her wrist and dragged her out of the villa. Meng Liangting, it's not that I don't love you, but you and your father are finished. I need money, I want to live a rich life, so I chose Ranran. From now on, you mean nothing to me. Stay out of my sight. Songmu grabbed her delicate chin and squeezed it with all his strength, as if trying to break it. His eyes, full of disgust and cruelty, made Meng Liangting shiver. How can you do this to me? She forced the words out, her tears filling her eyes. HMPH, you're not worthy of me. Songmu said, turning and walking away without looking back. At the same time, Zhu Lijuan threw the urn on the ground and slammed the door of the villa shut. Zhu Lijuan. Meng Ranran. The humiliation you've caused me today, I will make you pay for it tenfold in the future. Meng Liangting shouted at their retreating figures, her voice trembling with heartache and coldness. Dad, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I didn't stay by your side, and this is what happened to you. Meng Liangting held the urn, stumbling down the street in the chilly autumn wind. The rain lightly tapped on her fragile body. It wasn't heavy, but it pierced through her bones. The street, dimming as night approached, was almost empty. Meng Liangting wandered through the sidewalk, unsure of where to go. Creak. A screeching sound of brakes pierced her eardrum, and the streetlights and trees seemed to lean as she slowly collapsed into a pool of blood, still clutching the urn. "Master, I accidentally hit someone," the driver hurriedly said. "Get out, drag her to the back seat, and take her to the hospital," Gu Ye said indifferently, playing with a piece of jade in his hand. His half-closed eyes remained shut. The driver dragged Meng Liangting to the back seat. The urn she was holding rolled away to the side. "Master, it looks like she is holding an urn," the driver said, wide-eyed and swallowing. "Oh?" Gu Ye opened his deep eyes and glanced at the back seat. Her pale face was covered in blood, her thick black hair soaked with rainwater, her long eyelashes fluttering lightly, and her furrowed brows showed clear signs of distress. She was drenched and looked like an abandoned kitten. "Dad!" Meng Liangting cried out and suddenly woke up from her dream. "Don't be afraid, Tingzi, I'm here." Jiu Mo tightly held her hand and comforted her. "Momo?" Jiu Mo was Meng Liangting's best friend from high school to college. Since the surrogacy, they hadn't been in contact for a long time. "Tingzi, where have you been for these 10 months? I heard about your dad's situation." "Don't worry, I'm here for you." Jiu Mo patted her chest, trying to reassure her. "Dad? Dad's urn." Meng Liangting cried out anxiously. It's here, it's all right." Jiu Mo immediately handed her the urn from the bedside table. "Tingzi, I came to visit my little cousin's child at the hospital, but I didn't expect to find you here. I'll go check on the baby first and then come back to keep you company," Jiu Mo said happily, winking at Meng Liangting before leaving. In the VIP room, the baby crib contained 2 infants lying side by side. "Uncle Jiu, little cousin, I'm here to see my precious niece." Jiu Mo happily jumped into the room. "Wow, it's twins. Little cousin, you're amazing." Upon seeing the 2 little bundles in the crib, Jiu Mo exclaimed in excitement. "This rebellious son. I told you to get married, and you just brought me 2 kids out of nowhere. How can children not have a mother?" Jiu Jianchang said with frustration. "Dad, they are twins," Jiu Ye said, his lips slightly parting, and his deep eyes were full of warmth as he gazed at the 2 babies. "Since she gave you children, you should marry her. I don't care about the whole status thing anymore. As long as these 2 kids have a mother, that's enough. It's said that children without a mother are like grass. How can you do this? Marry her within 3 days." Jiu Jianchang said angrily, though his eyes softened as he looked at the babies. "Their mother is dead," Jiu Ye said flatly, his expression emotionless. "Nonsense. I really can't control you anymore." Jiu Jianchang's tone was full of anger. "Uncle Jiu, since little cousin already has kids, don't be too hard on him. The Jiu family already has heirs. Look at the girls you've tried to marry him off to, I don't like them either." Jiu Mo teased, mumbling as she played with the babies. "Even you're in on this. Looks like I'm getting old, can't control the young ones anymore. Bring the kids home as soon as possible, let your mom hold them." Jiu Jianchang scolded Jiu Ye, though his joy couldn't be hidden. "Where's that woman?" Jiu Ye, dressed in a sharp suit, stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, asking. "Master, the nurse said she already left." "Her condition doesn't seem serious," the butler said, puzzled. "It was just a woman who got hit by a car. Why was Jiu Ye, the ice sculpture, even concerned?" Go on," Jiu Ye said, lightly pressing his lips together. His high nose bridge seemed to glow in the light, and his deep eyes were both indifferent and compassionate. His perfect side profile made even men occasionally lose their focus. 3 years later. At the Jincheng airport. "Tingzi, over here." Jiu Mo took off her sunglasses and called out to Meng Liangting, who was wearing a white dress and had black hair. After 3 years, Jiu Mo was the only one who came to pick her up at the airport. "Tingzi, you disappeared to New York without a word 3 years ago. You must have had a hard time, right?" "As long as there is hatred in my heart, it's not hard," Meng Liangting said coldly, her eyes sweeping over the city that was once filled with painful memories. But now, she felt calm. 3 years ago, she found a mysterious 10 million in her bank account and flew to New York to study. She swore to come back to Jincheng, make Zhu Juan and her daughter pay, take back what was hers, and avenge her father. Chapter 3, A Little Meatball Falls. Isn't the most popular star in Jincheng right now Meng Ranran? Meng Liangting asked. That woman. She's just using her tricks to climb to the top. Tingzi, you studied performance in New York, you can easily outshine her. Ji Mo's expression soured when she mentioned Meng Ranran. I heard Liao Entertainment is holding auditions for the movie Wangchuan today. Momo, can you take me there? Tingzi, you're jumping into work right after coming back. Aren't you afraid you'll wear yourself out? Sigh, but I know your temper. If I don't take you, you'll definitely take a cab by yourself. Ji Mo adjusted the steering wheel and took another route. You know me best. A faint smile appeared on Meng Liangting's lips. After all these years, only she had been by her side. But I heard that the lead female role in Wangchuan is already predetermined by that awful woman, Meng Ranran. If you go, you'll only be auditioning for other roles, Ji Mo said, clearly displeased. It's fine, I never planned to audition for the lead role. A faint coldness flashed in Meng Liangting's eye. She was fully prepared for whatever might come. The audition hall was filled with people. Many actresses had put in extra effort for this audition, constantly touching up their makeup with powder puffs and lipsticks on already thick layers of makeup. Such tacky looks, how could they possibly succeed in the audition? Don't they even look at the script before trying out? Looking at these actresses fluttering about, Meng Liangting felt confident she would be chosen. She quietly waited in the corner of the hall, waiting for her name to be called. Well, if it isn't the fallen daughter of the Meng family. Disappeared for 3 years and now you show up. Meng Ranran descended the stairs with a group of people, immediately spotting Meng Liangting in the corner, wearing a plain white dress, so simple it couldn't be any simpler. Meng Ranran. As soon as Meng Liangting saw her face, her stomach churned. Don't call me that. I've changed my surname. Now I'm Ju Ranran. I'm no longer that fallen Meng family person. Ju Ranran raised the paper cup of coffee in her hand as she walked toward Meng Liangting, eyeing her with contempt. Slap. Before Ju Ranran could react, Meng Liangting knocked the paper cup out of her hand, and the coffee spilled onto her extravagant low-cut dress. So, how does it feel? Enemies meeting, this is what happens, Meng Liangting said, watching Ju Ranran scream. My new clothes. I'm supposed to attend a banquet tonight. You two, lock her up in the storage room on the second floor, and we'll deal with her after the audition. I don't want to act in the same drama with such a lowlife. Ju Ranran shouted at 2 large bodyguards standing nearby. Before Meng Liangting could react, they covered her mouth and dragged her into the storage room. Bang! Meng Liangting was thrown to the ground, the pain making it hard for her to get up. Huh! There was something small and round in the corner of the room. It was a child. The little meatball was staring at her with big eyes. What are you doing here? Meng Liangting, gritting her teeth in pain, crawled over but noticed the child's temple was bleeding, a cut near her ear, and blood was staining her white puffy dress. How did you get hurt? Let me take a look. Shocked, Meng Liangting immediately picked up the little one, her heart aching. The child might be about the same age as the one she had given birth to 3 years ago, so seeing her felt incredibly familiar. We can't keep going like this. You need treatment right away, or it'll be bad. Meng Liangting panicked, not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, in Ji Yuye's office, chaos had broken out. President Ji Yu, I'm sorry. I've already sent people to search for her. Assistant Ju was crouched on the floor, trembling in fear. Useless. I just stepped away to sign a contract, and you've lost Sweet Bean? Get back to searching. Ji Yuye's eyes glinted with cold fury, and the whole office felt heavy with tension. HMPH, if you can't find my sister, I'll beat you up. A small voice piped up, belonging to another little meatball sitting on Ji Yuye's lap. The resemblance to Ji Yuye's was striking. Now, as if dealing with one cold mountain wasn't enough, there were now 2. In the storage room, Meng Liangting quickly took off her belt and wrapped it around the little meatball's head to stop the bleeding. Luckily, this storage room has a window. I'll pass you through, someone will find you. Meng Liangting, holding the child, opened the small window and carefully passed the child through. The window was small enough only for the little one. There she is. A group of men in suits rushed around, and one of them, surprised, spotted the child being passed through the window. Thank you, miss, for saving our young lady. We'll get President Ji Yu to find the key and let you out. Save the child first. Meng Liangting said urgently. It seemed that this little meatball was of some importance, as so many people were mobilized to rescue her. Meng Liangting crouched in the corner, deep in thought. President Jiyu, this is the place. A voice came from outside. The storage room door opened, and a man, about 6'1", wearing a well-tailored suit, stood in the doorway. His black-brown hair slightly covered his brows, but couldn't he hide the cold glint in his eyes? Is it her? The woman who collided with his car 3 years ago, looking so downtrodden. You're the one who saved Sweetbean. Jiyu Ye spoke. I just helped her out. Meng Liangting started to explain, but suddenly, another small meatball appeared at her feet. Thank you for saving my sister. I'm Sweetbao, Sweetbean's brother. The little one bounced up to Meng Liangting, his chubby face full of joy. This. Meng Liangting glanced between Jiyu Ye's and Sweetbao. Were these two identical? Just one was the grown-up version, and the other was the child version. Thank you for saving my sweet treasure. But I think you should go change your clothes. Jiyu Ye's turned to take off his jacket, draping it over Meng Liangting's shoulders. It was then she realized, just moments ago, she had untied her belt to bandage the child's wound. No wonder Jiyu Ye's gaze seemed off earlier. Thank you, but I'm in a hurry. At this point, it was too late to change clothes, so Meng Liangting hurriedly buttoned the large jacket and quickly left. Luckily, she was still on time. Meng Liangting patted her chest and entered the audition room. Chapter for Doubao Needs a Mother. My name is Meng Liangting, and I'm here to audition for Shingujuan. We're done, let's go. The director said without raising his head as he was packing up the documents. But you haven't left yet, I still have a chance. Meng Liangting said anxiously. I said, it's over. The director was stunned when he looked up and saw Meng Liangting. She had thick black hair and a pretty face, just like a pale pink lotus just out of water. She was beautiful but not enchanting, and her brows were full of coldness. Not only the director, but even the screenwriters and producers around were stunned. Isn't this the real Shingujuan? She's the one, the director clapped his hands. Meng Liangting breathed a sigh of relief and bowed quickly. Thank you, director. This is exactly Shingujuan herself, beautiful and sad, stunning and cold. It's rare to find such a woman with all these characteristics. Only she can handle this role. The screenwriter said happily. Didn't you notice that she came to the audition in a shabby state, wearing Mr. Gu's coat? Asked the attentive producer. Apart from Jiyu Ye's suit, who else in Jincheng would have a green crabapple embroidered on the collar of his suit? That has become Jiyu Ye's symbol. Everyone looked at each other, and immediately knew that this woman was not simple, and that they had to be more careful in the crew in the future. In the hospital, little Sweetbin has woken up. Little Sweetbun is sitting on Jiyu Ye's lap, holding her sister's hand to comfort her. Daddy, I want that beautiful aunt to be Doubao's mother. Little Sweetbun suddenly said. Jiyu Ye's eyes sank. Don't be silly. How come his son's heart was already falling out after just meeting that woman once? Dad, Qiando also wants that auntie to be Qiando's mother. Qiando said in a baby voice, shaking the 2 pigtails on her head. These 2 little babes are indeed twins, and they even have the same idea. Daddy is always busy and has no time to take care of Doubao. This time my sister was injured because she didn't have mom's protection. The kids in kindergarten always laugh at Doubao, saying that he is picked up by grandpa and dad at school and he doesn't have a mom. Tianbao said and immediately hugged Qiando and started crying. The 2 little kids hugged each other and cried in baby voices, which gave Jiyu Ye a headache. Although he is an elite in the business world, the head of Jiyu Group, and a cold and iron man, he feels pain, love, and helplessness when facing 2 fat balls. If the beautiful aunt agrees to be your mother, Daddy won't object. Jiyu Ye said helplessly as he hugged the 2 little kids. Real. With a bargy sound, the 2 meatballs gave Jiyu Ye a soft kiss on the face. Jiyu Ye still appeared cold and silent on the surface, but his heart had melted. I heard that Jiyu Real Estate has acquired all the residential buildings and villas on Haitang Street and is planning to turn it into a tourist attraction. The TV was reporting today's evening news. Haitang Street. Is the Meng family villa going to be demolished? Meng Liangting, wrapped in a bath towel, watched the news and her heart skipped a beat. Zhu Lijuan took the house away at the beginning and now sold it to Gu's company for 20 million. Meng Liangting said that she must take back the Meng family villa, but she didn't expect it to be demolished so soon. Momo, do you know Jiu Yizi? Meng Liangting quickly dialed Jiu Mo's number and asked. Her family is in real estate, so she should have some connection with Jiu Yizi. What's wrong, Tingzi? Do you know that Jiu Yizi acquired Haitang Street? I was planning to drive over to pick you up for the cocktail party and talk to you in detail. Jiu Mo's car was already halfway there. The Jiu family cocktail party was held in Jiu Yizi's public villa. Although it was to recruit partners for the demolition of Haitang Street, many women attended. It seems that this Jiu Yizi is indeed a playboy. He has attracted so many women. Meng Liangting said as she stood outside the hall wearing a beige low-cut dress. Tingzi, it's up to you now. I've never seen this Jiu Yizi interested in any women, but I think our Tingzi's temperament is unmatched. Among the 36 strategies, the beauty trap is the best one. Go. After Jiu Mo finished speaking, he immediately dived into the crowd to look for prey. Meng Liangting took a breath, picked up a glass of wine from the table next to her, and walked slowly to the center of the hall. Mr. Jiu, I heard that you are going to demolish Haitang Street. Meng Liangting was stunned as she walked over to him. Isn't this the father of the little meatball she met in the utility room today? He is actually Jiu Yizi, and he has 2 children. What? Jiu Yizi looked at Meng Liangting with a playful look in his deep eyes. He wanted to see what this woman wanted to do. I would like to ask Mr. Jiu not to demolish the Meng family villa. Meng Liangting made up her mind. Since she was here anyway, she would protect the Meng residents even at the cost of her life. You sound quite arrogant. What are your conditions? Jiu Yizi shook the cup in his hand, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he looked at Meng Liangting with his eyes tilted. If Mr. Jiu doesn't mind, we can have a good talk tonight. Meng Liangting stood on tiptoe and leaned close to Jiu Yizi's ear and said. Really? How do you know that I would be interested in you? Jiu Yizi's eyes were filled with a deeper sense of amusement. Because I only play with you, but I won't cling to you like other women. Meng Liangting's body trembled a little. The smell of his body filled her nose, rich and fragrant, which actually reminded her of those nights 3 years ago and that man's body. I'm afraid that what Miss Meng is thinking of won't work. There are so many women lining up to get into my bed. Go and ask who has succeeded. Jiu Yizi shook his wine glass and prepared to leave. Mr. Jiu, as long as you keep my father's villa, you can ask me to do anything. Meng Liangting gritted her teeth and went for it. It's all Jiu Mo's fault for coming up with the weird idea of using the beauty trap. Jiu Yizi doesn't he like women at all, okay? Anything is fine. Jiu Yizi stopped and asked doubtfully. Yes. Meng Liangting said firmly. Then come with me. Jiu Yizi grabbed Meng Liangting with his big hand without any mercy and dragged her into the car like a kitten. So Mr. Jiu likes this, but the space in the car is a bit small, and I'm worried that you won't be comfortable playing. Meng Liangting smiled faintly. Sure enough, she had to sacrifice herself. Ms. Meng, you think too highly of yourself. Jiu Yizi stepped on the accelerator and the car flew out suddenly. Hospital. Meng Liangting stood outside the hospital, confused. What was he going to do? Follow closely, don't get lost. Jiu Yizi said coldly, and walked forward. Dad. As soon as the little sweetbin on the hospital bed saw Jiu Yizi, he immediately opened his arms and called out in a baby voice. Daddy is here. And with her is a beautiful auntie. A chubby sweetbun rolled over and grabbed the hands of Jiu Yizi and Meng Liangting. Chapter 5 Forgotten Dad. I want a hug. Little Sweetbao shouted with open arms. Jiu Yizi was about to bend down with a doting smile but was pushed away by Little Sweetbao. No, Stinky Daddy, I want a hug from my pretty auntie. Little Sweetbao said in a baby voice. Jiu Yizi's glacial face immediately turned dark. Okay, let auntie give you a hug. Meng Liangting picked up the little sweet boy and sat in front of the bed. Sweetbin also wants the beautiful aunt to hug him. The little meatball on the bed also squeezed over, and Meng Liangting immediately had 2 more meatballs in her arms, soft and with a milky fragrance. Jiu Yizi's face turned dark as he stood aside. Do these two fools still take him, their biological father, seriously? Many women tried to please the twins, Dobao and his girl, but none of them could please these two chubby guys. There was a long queue of women who wanted to be their stepmothers, but no woman could handle these two naughty guys. Unexpectedly, once Meng Liangting showed up, these two little bastards became so well behaved that they even forgot about their biological daddy. Xiao Qinbao's wound is no longer serious, that's great. Meng Liangting scratched Xiao Qinbao's nose with a smile on her face, her eyes full of pampering. She also gave birth to a child in this hospital. If her child were here, he would be as big as these two little balls of flesh, right? After that, she had an extra 10 million in her card. So was she really pregnant with twins? Unfortunately, whether it was one or two, it had nothing to do with her. Mr. Gu, do you want me to be the babysitter for Dobao? It would be fine if she could be a babysitter, but she was still a little worried that things would not be as simple as that. No, Dobao doesn't lack a nanny, but a mother. Gu Yizi stared at Meng Liangting and said, the seriousness in his eyes scared Meng Liangting. Mr. Gu, this won't work. If Dobao's biological mother. Wow. Tianbao and Qiando burst into tears immediately. Beautiful aunt, do you dislike my sister and I for being naughty and don't want to be our mother? The two little girls cried together in Meng Liangting's arms, their chubby little faces covered with tears. No, Tianbao and Qiando are so well behaved and cute. Auntie likes you very much. Meng Liangting explained hurriedly. Why doesn't that beautiful aunt want to be Dobao's mother? Xiao Qinbao's words left Meng Liangting speechless. Jiu Yizi looked at Meng Liangting and Dobao with a smile on his face. At that moment, he felt that she really was like their mother. Okay then, auntie will be your mother for the time being, but it's only temporary. Meng Liangting knew that if she didn't agree to these two little bastards today, she would not be able to get away. Finally, the two little idiots were coaxed into submission. Meng Liangting stood in front of the ward door. Jiu Yizi closed the door and a chill involuntarily passed through Jiu Yizi's body. Once you agree, there is no room for regret. Jiu Yizi looked down at Meng Liangting and said, Mr. Jiu, I can be Dobao's mother for 3 months, but you have to stay in the Meng residence, and we can't have any relationship. Meng Liangting said with her head down, somewhat embarrassed to speak. What? Weren't you the one who tried so hard to climb onto my bed just now? Jiu Yizi suddenly lowered his head, his deep eyes fixed on Meng Liangting's flashing eyes. That, just now. A masculine scent with a chill hit her face. Meng Liangting stepped back nervously, but a big hand held her waist and made her get closer to Jiu Yizi. Are you scared? Jiu Yizi chuckled with his thin lips, his dark eyes falling on Meng Liangting's red and hot face. The big hand on her waist began to move up restlessly with a hot breath. Meng Liangting felt her mouth was very dry and her heart was beating as if it was going to jump out of her heart. Jiu Yizi's eyes were fixed on her tightly, as if she was his prey. Mr. Jiu, please respect yourself. Meng Liangting used all her strength to push Jiu Yizi away and ran out in panic. Interesting. Jiu Yizi couldn't imagine that the woman in front of him who exuded a hint of coldness and arrogance was the same woman who was holding the urn and crashed under his car 3 years ago. What has she experienced in these 3 years? In the office. Find the surrogate woman within 3 months. Jiu Yizi ordered while playing with the jade in his hand. Yes, Mr. Jiu. The assistant frowned slightly. The previous surrogacy work was kept extremely confidential. The woman did not leave anything except a bank card account and some simple personal information. They also didn't expect that one day he would look for the mother of his child. Sister, can I take you out to play with the beautiful aunt? Tianbao said to Qiando while holding the bottle. Is it really okay? Qiando put down the bottle and looked at his brother eagerly. Let's go. The two chubby balls walked out of the ward hand in hand. Uncle Ju, my sister is hungry. Can you ask the beautiful aunt that day to take us out for dinner? Tianbao hugged assistant Ju outside the ward and said coquettishly. Since Jiu Yizi was not there, he didn't dare let the two little bastards go out. If something happened, he would be scolded again. Dad has asked that aunt to be our mother. If Dobao can't see his mother, Dad will definitely scold Uncle Ju. Little Qiando said seriously in a baby voice. Okay then, I'll go contact your beautiful aunt. Assistant Ju also vaguely realized that Gu Yizi treated that woman differently from ordinary women, and if the little guys couldn't see her, they would definitely get angry and cry. In the snack bar in the mall, the two little meatballs had eaten so much that their bellies were round and plump. Meng Liangting was so happy looking at the two balls. "My beautiful mother, I want to drink juice," Tianbao said while touching his belly. "Mom, Qiando wants one too," little Qiando said in a baby voice. "Okay, let's go buy it together." Meng Liangting walked out of the snack bar holding a meatball in one hand, but ran into Zhu Ranran and Song Mu, who were carrying a bunch of shopping bags. "Oh, enemies often meet on a narrow road. Why are there scumbags everywhere?" "Hey, Miss Meng, how come I meet you here? Song Mu and I are getting married, and I happen to come here to look at wedding dresses today. I'll give you an invitation. After all, if it weren't for your love, I wouldn't have been able to marry such a good man," Zhu Ranran said sarcastically in a delicate voice. "It doesn't matter. Song Mu is just a worn-out shoe of mine. You picked him up and he suits you very well," Meng Liangting said coldly. "You?" Zhu Ranran's face turned green when she heard Meng Liangting's words. "This old lady is so ugly. Let's ignore her, beautiful mom. Let's go drink orange juice." The little sweet boy pulled Meng Liangting's hand and said coquettishly. It turned out that this sweet boy and Gu Yizi were cut from the same mold. He didn't even use a dirty word when insulting others. "Mom? Meng Liangting, which wild man did you give birth to a child for? How dare you bring the child out and embarrass yourself?" Zhu Ranran glared and laughed. Chapter 6, The Battle of. "Yes, Liangting, it turns out you already had someone outside. I knew you were not a good woman. Your private life is just as promiscuous as Ranran said," Song Mu said hatefully. "Daddy's car is here," Tianbao suddenly shouted, and a blue Rolls-Royce stopped steadily at the entrance of the mall. When Zhu Ranran saw the car, her face, which was covered with powder, became very long. This was the latest version of Rolls-Royce, and it was estimated to be worth tens of millions. Could it be some greasy old man? "Meng Liangting, you're not even that capable. You can't even sell your body for a good price." Zhu Ranran's sarcastic voice was extremely harsh. The car door opened, Assistant Zhu got out and opened the back door. A 1.85-meter tall man, wearing a black, straight suit and a pair of shiny leather shoes that made the floor glow, had a pair of deep eyes under his dark brown hair, a high nose bridge, thin lips, and a handsome face with clear contours that immediately attracted the attention of passers-by. "So Meng Liangting, you married a driver. It would be fine if you married a rich old man." Zhu Ranran shifted her gaze away from Gu Yizi and stared at the older Assistant Zhu sarcastically. "Daddy! Dad!" the two meatballs shouted happily. Gu Yizi walked over with deep eyes, hugging Qiando with one hand and holding Tianbao with the other. "These two bad guys are bullying Mom," Tianbao complained immediately. This meatball was a top-notch assistant. "What? When did Meng Liangting marry Gu Yizi? And they gave birth to twins." Zhu Ranran's face turned pale. "Honey, let's go home quickly. There's garbage everywhere. Even when we go out to eat, we're going to run into dirt." Meng Liangting smiled and gently pulled Gu Yizi's cold suit sleeve. A faint blush appeared on her fair and pretty face, and she looked like a delicate wife. Gu Yizi raised his hand elegantly, and Meng Liangting's heart skipped a beat. Although she agreed to be the temporary mother of the Dubaos, Gu Yizi was not his husband. If he shook her hand off on the spot, then... "Okay, let's go home." Gu Yizi raised his hand and placed it on Meng Liangting's petite shoulders, with a warm light in his eyes. The family of four looked really enviable. "Husband." Miss Meng calls her that as if it were real. After getting in the car, Gu Yizi put down the two meatballs, stared at Meng Liangting's red face with a playful smile. It's an emergency. Thank you, Mr. Gu, for not exposing me. I hope you don't get angry." Meng Liangting didn't dare to look up at Gu Ye's eyes. Her face was flushed and her heart was beating wildly. "Mom is blushing." Tianbao immediately pointed at Meng Liangting and shouted in a baby voice. "Send Miss Meng home." Gu Yizi turned to the front and said calmly. "Yes, Mr. Gu, I brought Miss Meng here to keep the kids company, and I must send her back." Assistant Chu laughed. Fortunately, the boss did not blame him. Meng Liangting lowered her head, twisted her fingers and bit her lips lightly. The faint fragrance emanating from her body made Gu Yizi feel dazed for a moment. He seemed to have smelled this scent somewhere before. HMPH, this bitch, how could she have secretly married Gu Yizi? I don't believe it. Gu Yizi hasn't had a girlfriend in these years, let alone got married. Zhu Ranran got into the car angrily, and when she saw Song Mu's Land Rover, her resentment deepened. Brother Mu, look at your car, it's so uncomfortable to sit in. Zhu Ranran said with great discomfort in her heart. Ranran, don't be angry. I will buy you a big and luxurious house when we get married. As for whether Meng Liangting and Gu Yizi's marriage is true or not, I will give you an explanation and I will definitely make you happier than her. Song Mu said flatteringly. Chapter 7. This woman is extraordinary. Zhu Ranran was very pleased with Song Mu's flattering attitude and immediately became well behaved, snuggling in Song Mu's arms like a cute cat. Soon, Gu Yizi drove to the destination. The Rolls-Royce was parked in front of Meng Liangting's house. Thank you Mr. Gu for today. I'll go up first. Meng Liangting opened the door and prepared to get out of the car. Little Sweetbean and Little Sweetbun grabbed her clothes and refused to let go. Pretty mother, when will you take us to eat delicious food? Meng Liangting glanced at Gu Yizi who was sitting in the passenger seat and gently rubbed the heads of the two little guys. Just be good and listen to me. Auntie will come to see you in a few days. After saying that, she stuffed the two little guys into the car, waved her hand gently, and turned into their house. The little sweet girl came to the front and pulled Gu Ye's coat. Her soft and sticky voice made him unable to resist. Dad, I want my beautiful mom to come tomorrow. Gu Yizi turned around and touched the little sweet girl's chubby face with his gentle hands. Then you have to go back to the hospital obediently. Little Sweetie immediately agreed. Okay, then Daddy must keep his word. Then he went back and high-fived Little Sweetie. Gu Yizi looked at the two little guys with tenderness in his eyes. Meng Liangting returned to the room and recalled what happened today. She was a little surprised. She didn't expect that Gu Yizi would be so cooperative. As she was thinking, she became a little absent-minded. The phone beside her rang, pulling her out of her memories. Meng Liangting quickly picked up the phone. Hello, how are you? Assistant Zhu asked politely from the other end of the phone. Hello, Miss Meng. I am Mr. Gu's assistant. The young master and the young lady want to see you tomorrow. Is it convenient for you? Meng Liangting looked at the press release she had just received. Tomorrow was the day for selecting supporting actors for Forgotten River, and as the heroine, she still had to be present. I'm afraid I can't tomorrow. I have some work to do. Tell Dobai that I'll be there in 2 days when I'm done. Assistant Zhu couldn't force anyone to do it, so he had to agree and went into the room to repeat Meng Liangting's words to Gu Yizi and Doubao. The two children's expressions changed instantly. They looked so happy just now, but their eyes turned red in an instant. Our beautiful mother can't accompany us anymore. Little Sweetbin said to Gu Yizi aggrievedly. Gu Yizi could only rub their heads gently and said softly, work is more important, right? You two are the most sensible ones. He carefully comforted the two children, and after a long time, Doubao wiped his tears and stopped crying. The next morning, Meng Liangting changed into a light blue knee-length skirt with a white suit jacket on the outside. Her long black hair was draped over her shoulders and she wore light makeup. Standing in front of the mirror, Meng Liangting stared at herself. At this moment, she looked very much like Shingujuan. After getting dressed, Meng Liangting pushed the door and walked out. When she arrived at the scene, Zhu Ranran was arguing with the director and looked like a shrew. Director, I have already been chosen to play Shingujuan, how could you choose someone else without permission? Zhu Ranran shouted in a shrill voice. The director was a little embarrassed. Ms. Zhu, there are people who are more suitable for the role of Shingujuan than you, so. Zhu Ranran became more and more angry after listening to the director's words. Don't forget, I gave you money, how dare you go back on your word? The director held the script in his hand and explained to her, this role of the second female lead is very suitable for you. You are very similar to her in every aspect. How about you just play the second female lead for a while? Meng Liangting stood aside and watched coldly, secretly mocking Zhu Ranran's quality in her heart. You still want me to play the second female lead? Why? Find me the leading female lead. I want to see who is so capable of stealing my role. When Meng Liangting heard this, a wicked smile appeared on her lips and she walked towards Zhu Ranran. The high heels made a crisp sound of thump thump. The director turned around and saw Meng Liangting. He pulled her in front of Zhu Ranran as if he had seen a savior. Ms. Zhu, look, this is the Shingujuan I want. It's you? Zhu Ranran exclaimed. She looked at Meng Liangting in front of her, her eyes full of disgust and jealousy. Meng Liangting gave a polite smile and looked at her astonished expression, feeling a little proud. Ms. Zhu also wanted to play Shingujuan. What a pity, the director has already chosen me. I'm so sorry. Meng Liangting took a step forward, and the aura she exuded forced Zhu Ranran to take a step back, with his back against the cold wall, leaving him with no way to retreat. The director felt that he was saved and quietly stepped aside. He couldn't afford to offend these two women, especially Meng Liangting, who was related to Gu Yizi. Zhu Ranran's eyes widened with anger, and she gritted her teeth and said, Meng Liangting, you dare to steal my role. Meng Liangting put her arms around her shoulders, showing no fear. Ms. Zhu, it's useless to say anything now. I see there is a second female role in the script, maybe it's suitable for you. Meng Liangting stretched out her hand and the director tactfully handed her the script. Look at this second female lead. She is naturally jealous, arrogant, and good for nothing. She is a perfect match for Miss Zhu. After Meng Liangting finished speaking, she threw the script directly into Zhu Ranran's arms and said, come over for the audition if you've made up your mind. After all, Wangchuan is a big project, and it's your blessing to play the second female role. After saying this, Meng Liangting turned around and left, with an arrogant attitude. Zhu Ranran looked at the script in her arms and recalled Meng Liangting's expression just now. This role seemed like a reward from her. She couldn't stand the humiliation and angrily called Songmu to complain, but Songmu didn't come to comfort her as she had imagined. Instead, he gave her a lot of advice and persuaded her to play the second female lead. You have to think about it carefully. Wangchuan has been a big IP in the past 2 years. There is a good chance that it will become popular in one fell swoop. After Songmu's careful persuasion, Zhu Ranran finally agreed and walked into their house reluctantly. Director, I want to audition for the second female role, please arrange a role for me quickly. Zhu Ranran shouted. The director quickly ran over cheerfully, okay, I'll arrange it for Miss Zhu right away. Everything was being prepared in full swing, the lighting was adjusted, and the audition was about to begin when suddenly the voices of 2 children were heard outside the door. Beautiful mother. Meng Liangting immediately recognized that it was Doubao's voice. The 2 little balls ran in, followed by Gu Yizi. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Meng Liangting. Meng Liangting was afraid that they would misunderstand, so she quickly stood up and ran over. Tianbao, why are you 2 here? As she spoke, she looked up at Gu Yizi. But he just said calmly, they are clamming to see you, and their crying makes me feel sad. Meng Liangting gently rubbed the heads of the 2 little guys and comforted them softly. At this time, everyone in the room was shocked. Mr. Gu's child actually calls Meng Liangting Mom? This news is enough to make the headlines tomorrow. Chapter 8 Almost embarrassed. Meng Liangting noticed the gazes of the people around her, and fearing that she would be misunderstood, she turned around and said to the director, Director, I'm sorry, wait a moment. After saying that, he picked up Xiao Qianbao and pushed Gu Yizi out the door. Gu Yizi looked at her panicked expression and frowned. Why are you so nervous? Meng Liangting put the sweet bun on the ground. Even through the thick door, she could hear the discussions of the people in the room. If they call me sweetheart like that, they will definitely misunderstand. Meng Liangting said nervously. Gu Yizi looked indifferent. I don't care, as long as Doubao is happy. Meng Liangting felt helpless about his inexplicable generosity. I could only squat down, rub the heads of the 2 little sweeties, and persuade them softly, you 2 wait here with daddy, and I'll come out to accompany you when auntie is done with her work. The little sweet girl hooked Meng Liangting's hand and said in a baby voice, then the beautiful mother must keep her word. Meng Liangting smiled slightly, okay, wait for me obediently. After saying that, he stood up, glanced at Gu Yizi, and went back into their house. As soon as she entered the room, she felt the strange looks from people around her, especially Zhu Ranran, whose eyes were filled with jealousy and dissatisfaction. However, Meng Liangting was not affected. She adjusted her state and started working. After the audition, Meng Liangting packed up and went out to find Jiu Yizi. Beautiful mother, you are finally done with your work. Little Sweetbin threw herself into Meng Liangting's arms and acted coquettishly. Meng Liangting smiled and said, let's go, I'll take you to eat something delicious. After saying that, he took Doubao's hand and walked forward, and Jiu Yizi followed behind them. What happened today shocked everyone present, and the next day the media broke the news that Meng Liangting was the mother of Jiu Yizi's 2 children. Meng Liangting woke up early in the morning and picked up her phone. As soon as she opened Weibo, she saw her name on the hot search list. She had a bad feeling at that time. Meng Liangting clicked on the page, and it had a few big words written on it. Meng Liangting is the biological mother of Jiu Ye's child. Suddenly her head made a buzzing sound, as if it was about to explode. When he clicked on the trending search again, there were a bunch of photos of himself, Doubao and Jiu Yizi. The above analysis is very logical and lists a lot of evidence. There were photos of Meng Liangting taking Doubao out to eat, and also photos of Meng Liangting getting into Jiu Ye's car. Looking at the text above, Meng Liangting felt like she was going to explode with anger. The biological mother of the young master and young lady of the Jiu family is actually the actress Meng Liangting. The mother of the 2 children that Jiu Yizi has always cherished is actually a poor girl. What happened between the 2 of them? Will they rekindle their old love? What is the entanglement between them and the woman that Mr. Jiu has hidden for so long? Meng Liangting was overwhelmed after reading 2 sentences. She really underestimated the power of the media. Looking through the comments again, Meng Liangting has become a sitting duck and was sprayed so badly by those people. How can this Meng Liangting have the ability to bear a child for Mr. Jiu? Why would Mr. Jiu fall in love with her? No way, Mr. Jiu would actually have a relationship with Meng Liangting. Didn't the Meng family fall into decline a long time ago? Mr. Jiu is not in a relationship with Meng Liangting, right? How can this woman be qualified to climb into Mr. Gu's bed? There was malice in these comments, and Meng Liangting couldn't stand it anymore, so she threw her phone aside and escaped temporarily. It has been on a hot search for a whole day, and now Meng Liangting has become completely popular. Meng Liangting avoided it for a whole day before she managed to adjust her mentality. The next day, Meng Liangting got up early, washed up and rushed to the set. When she arrived at the dressing room, Meng Liangting was reading the script while doing her makeup and hair. Meng Liangting liked this scene very much. The heroine in the play was dancing by the forgetful river to commemorate her dead lover, and happened to meet the hero. The dance teacher communicated with Meng Liangting about the dance moves and details in advance. Meng Liangting studies hard and she knows a little bit about dancing. Zhu Ranran arrived at the dressing room and saw Meng Liangting surrounded by a group of staff members, feeling jealous. After listening to the director explaining the play to Meng Liangting, Zhu Ranran suddenly had an idea and went straight to the costume room. Meng Liangting communicated with the director and did not notice this scene. After finishing her makeup and hair, the director urged them to start filming, so Meng Liangting quickly ran to the dressing room to change her clothes. As soon as she put it on, the director began to urge her, "Teacher Meng, hurry up, the actors are already in place, and we're about to start filming." Meng Liangting quickly responded, "Okay," and put on her clothes and ran out in a hurry without checking. The male lead is in place. Meng Liangting is wearing a light blue dress and looks gorgeous, like a banished immortal. The director was amazed and praised the assistant director next to him. "Look, this look is definitely Shingujuan, so beautiful." The assistant director also nodded in praise, which made Zhu Ranran even more unhappy. Meng Liangting straightened her clothes and was now by the forgotten river. The director shouted, "Axio." Meng Liangting got into the mood in seconds, started speaking her lines, and then began dancing. While dancing, Meng Liangting's clothes suddenly slipped off, revealing her graceful figure. Meng Liangting was shocked and quickly grabbed her skirt, fearing that if it fell again she would be completely exposed. Just when she was panicking, Jiu Yizi walked over from a distance, took off his suit jacket and put it on Meng Liangting. The actor opposite looked surprised and quickly turned his head away. Meng Liangting suddenly felt very safe and pulled her coat tighter. The people around him looked surprised. "Oh my god, that was too much." "It's over," a supporting actress exclaimed. The others also started discussing, "Boss Jiu is so nice to Meng Liangting, could it be that they were in love before as the hot searches say?" The women gathered together and had a heated discussion that even the director was surprised. Could it be that Mr. Gu's legendary secret love affair is really with Meng Liangting? Meng Liangting is not someone you can easily mess with. The director and the assistant director on the side were both deeply surprised by Gu Yi's actions just now. This Meng Liangting. Zhu Ranran clenched his fists tightly behind the crowd. Although she looked fierce, fear and terror were revealed on her face. However, she felt happy when she thought about embarrassing Meng Liangting. Who do you think will dare to mess with Meng Liangting in the future? Now that she's with President Jiyu, won't she have to worry about not having any movies to shoot, a crew member said on the side. Another staff member also sighed, Boss Gu's woman is not someone we can afford to offend. Meng Liangting listened to what those people said, glanced around, and saw Zhu Ranran in the crowd. She looked smug, and when she met his eyes, they were full of hatred. Meng Liangting seemed to understand something, and glared at Zhu Ranran fiercely, as if to say, just wait for me. Chapter 9. This role suits you. Zhu Ranran curled the corners of her mouth and smiled contemptuously. She was not afraid of Meng Liangting at all. She sat down on the chair and crossed her legs, looking like a provocation. Gu Yizi looked back at the direction of Meng Liangting's eyes, then turned around and picked her up. Meng Liangting was a little surprised and stared at him. Gu Yizi passed by the director and said in a commanding tone, pause the filming first, I will help her adjust first. Also, I don't want to hear anyone talking about what happened today. The director agreed with a smile, okay. Don't worry, Mr. Jiyu, I will make sure they keep it a secret. Gu Yizi didn't say anything else, completely ignoring the looks of those people, and carried Meng Liangting back to the lounge. Putting Meng Liangting on the chair, Gu Yizi had a dark face. Meng Liangting buttoned up her suit and looked at him, are you unhappy? Gu Yizi raised his head and looked at her, his eyes looked like he wanted to eat her. Meng Liangting curled her lips and said to him, this is my business. What does it have to do with you? I don't know why you are so angry here. Seeing her slightly aggrieved look, Gu Yizi said coldly, Doubao's mother cannot have such a scandal. I will definitely investigate what happened today and will never let the person who did this go. Meng Liangting saw that he was serious and thought for a moment, are you going to avenge me? Gu Yizi didn't respond. The director knocked on the door a few times, Mr. Jiyu, Teacher Meng, can I come in? Meng Liangting quickly responded after hearing this, come in, director. Gu Yizi still had a gloomy face. The director walked in and looked at the two of them. He showed a flattering smile, well, Mr. Meng, I'm really sorry about what happened today. We were not well prepared. Meng Liangting waved her hand, it's okay, I didn't pay attention when I put it on. Meng Liangting generously forgave him, but Gu Yez on the side had a cold face, such a small thing can also make mistakes, how do you do your job? The director was so scared that cold sweats broke out, and he quickly apologized, I'm so sorry, it was indeed our negligence, I will fire everyone in the costume team when I get back. Meng Liangting looked helpless. The director wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, Mr. Meng, we can't shoot today because of something like this. Go back and have a rest. We'll shoot again tomorrow. Meng Liangting nodded, okay. Then she got up and changed her clothes. Gu Yizi glanced at the director standing there and shouted in a low voice, hurry up and leave. The director quickly left, patted his chest and sighed, it was really scary. While Meng Liangting was changing clothes, Gu Yez went out and made a phone call, hey, find out who was behind today's incident. The assistant on the other end of the phone responded, yes, and then hurried to do his work. Gu Yiz's people acted quickly and efficiently. They first went to get the list of employees in the entire clothing group. I went to the director again to retrieve the surveillance footage from the dressing room, and the director was very cooperative. Gu Yizi suspected Zhu Ranran, and just at this moment Zhu Ranran passed by him again. Gu Yizi stopped her directly and said, Ms. Zhu, come here, I have something to ask you. Zhu Ranran was a little frightened and stopped, while Gu Yizi took 2 or 3 steps over. With a cold face, he looked at her and asked, Miss Zhu, do you have a role today? Zhu Ranran hesitated for a moment and nodded. Gu Yizi looked at her hands grabbing the hem of her skirt, said nothing more, and turned back to the lounge. Gu Yiz's men watched in the monitoring room for a while and found that Zhu Ranran sneaked into the dressing room an hour ago. Confirming that it was Zhu Ranran who did something, she quickly called Gu Yizi, Boss Gu, I found it. Gu Yiz's face changed, and after listening to what the assistant said, he hung up the phone. Meng Liangting changed her clothes and looked at Jiu Yizi, who looked very angry. She asked, "What's wrong?" Jiu Yizi did not answer. Instead, he took her to find Doubao. The two of them accompanied Doubao for a whole day and only sent Meng Liangting back in the evening. The next day, Jiu Yizi attended a cocktail party attended by some famous directors, actors, and some big bosses. A director was talking about his new play. Jiu Yizi was very interested and walked over with a glass of wine. It just so happened that the director was very familiar with him, so Jiu Yizi took advantage of the situation and used his connections to recommend Zhu Ranran to the position. "Director Li, after hearing what you said, I do have a suitable actor to recommend," Jiu Yizi said to Director Li with a smirk on his face. The two chatted for a while, and before leaving, Jiu Yizi reminded, "Good actors have limited acting skills, so just change them after performing a scene." Director Li understood what he meant and sent the script to Zhu Ranran the next day. Zhu Ranran looked at the script. The heroine in it was even more miserable than Cinderella. She was being bullied and ravaged by those supporting actresses. Her face suddenly changed when she saw this and she was about to refuse, but Director Li put pressure on her and forced her to take the role. When Meng Liangting went to accompany Doubao and heard Jiu Yizi talk about this, she was so happy that she ran to the scene to watch the next day. As soon as Meng Liangting arrived at the filming site, she saw Zhu Ranran wearing tattered clothes and looking disheveled. In front of Zhu Ranran, he laughed out loud without disguising his laughter. "Your outfit is really hilarious." Zhu Ranran glared at her, "Shut up." Meng Liangting put her hands on her hips and looked like she was enjoying the show. "I heard that your scene was particularly miserable. I came here specially to watch it. Don't let me down." Zhu Ranran clenched his fists tightly, his eyes full of anger. Meng Liangting picked up the script and flipped through it. "Oh, look at the lines here." The heroine was slapped in the face by the supporting actress. She wanted to resist, but was pushed into the quagmire on the side. Meng Liangting read the scenes in the script and laughed wantonly. TSK, this heroine is really pitiful. However, if you play the role for the time being, then it can only be regarded as evil pays off. Meng Liangting said, putting the script aside, reaching out to pick up Zhu Ranran's clothes, with a look of disgust on her face. "Look at this sloppy look, it really suits you." Zhu Ranran looked at her with gritted teeth, as if he wanted to skin her alive. Meng Liangting wiped her hands in disdain. "You are only worthy of playing this kind of heroine. Okay, go and act." Zhu Ranran felt that she had suffered a great humiliation and ran to the lounge to call Song Mu and cry. Song Mu listened to her crying and tried to comfort her on the surface, but what he was actually thinking about was getting back together with Meng Liangting. After all, Meng Liangting is now doing well and is no longer the impoverished daughter she used to be. She is countless times better than Zhu Ranran, so he must seize the opportunity. Chapter 10, please. After Meng Liangting mocked Zhu Ranran, she felt much better and drove back to her set happily. Zhu Ranran felt much better after she finished calling Song Mu. On the other end of the phone, after Song Mu hung up, he was thinking about how to make Meng Liangting agree to reconcile. Ever since Meng Liangting came back, Song Mu has been thinking that Zhu Ranran is really inferior to Meng Liangting in every way. Regardless of her character or other aspects, he wanted to get rid of Zhu Ranran as soon as possible. Meng Liangting returned to the set to film, and everyone on the set was polite and respectful to her. She was still a little uncomfortable with this and thought it was probably because of Jiu Yizi. However, Meng Liangting felt that this was a good thing, so that no one would dare to do anything to her again. "We filmed peacefully for a few days, and on the weekend, the director thoughtfully gave the entire crew a day off." Meng Liangting had gotten up early for several days in a row and felt a little tired. She was just about to have a good day's sleep when the phone beside her pillow rang. Meng Liangting looked at the caller ID, hesitated for a moment, and finally picked up the phone. "Hello." As soon as Meng Liangting opened her mouth, Song Mu on the opposite side immediately called her name enthusiastically. "Liangting, I'm Song Mu." Meng Liangting sighed softly. "What's the matter?" Song Mu's voice was full of enthusiasm. "You should take a rest today. Do you have time to come out for dinner?" Meng Liangting hesitated for a moment, thinking that after all, there were some entanglements between them, and it had been 3 years, and it was time to put an end to it, so she agreed. "Send me the location." Meng Liangting only said this. Song Mu said happily, "It's great that you agreed. I'll send the location right away. Meng Liangting hung up the phone directly with a serious expression. Songmu held the phone in his hand, looking very happy. He didn't expect Meng Liangting to agree so quickly. Meng Liangting washed and dressed up and drove to the appointment. Songmu arrived early in the morning. When he saw her car, he was very excited. Meng Liangting went to park the car, and Songmu ran over to open the door for her. You came so soon, come in and sit down. Meng Liangting was pulled by him to sit down, and she frowned as she looked at the decorations and dishes on the table. The table was set up like a couple's date. How did he choose it? Songmu looked at her with a smile on his face and picked up some food for her attentively. I don't know what you like to eat, so I just ordered some at random. Try it, and change it if you don't like it. Meng Liangting looked at him. You were not like this before. She ruthlessly exposed him, and Songmu smiled flatteringly. I didn't think it through before, but I have thought it through this time. Liangting, are you willing to give me another chance? As Songmu spoke, he was about to grab Meng Liangting's hand, but she pulled it back ruthlessly. There is no possibility between us. You'd better give up this idea as soon as possible. Songmu looked at her expression and thought she was really angry, so he continued to say sweet words. Liangting, ever since you came back, I have never been able to forget you. You are so beautiful and kind. I was so blind to break up with you before. Songmu's eyes were full of affection, and Meng Liangting got goosebumps all over her body. Liangting, I find that you are really the most beautiful girl in the world. Now before I go to bed every night, my mind is full of you. I am obsessed with you. Meng Liangting didn't think there was anything romantic about what he said. Instead, he found it a bit disgusting. In his impression, Songmu would never say such a thing. What happened between us is in the past. There's no point talking about it now. Songmu listened to her words, still unwilling to give up. Didn't we have a good relationship before? How could it be useless? Meng Liangting felt disgusted when she saw Songmu like this. The man in front of her did not have the same demeanor as before. Songmu kept saying those annoying love words. Liangting, if you don't want me, I will be sad. I miss you so much that I can't sleep every day. Please give me another chance. Meng Liangting sighed. You asked me to dinner just to talk about this. Meng Liangting's voice reached Jiuyi's ears. He brought Doubao to eat. When he heard the voices of Meng Liangting and Songmu, his brows furrowed. Songmu pitifully tried to please Meng Liangting. Liangting, I am willing to wait for you, no matter how long it takes. Little Sweetbin pulled Jiuyi's hand. Dad, it seems to be the voice of beautiful mom. The sweet girl stood on a stool, tiptoeing and looking in the direction of Meng Liangting. Jiuyi had a dark face and glanced at the assistant beside him. Keep an eye on them, I'll go over, he ordered, then put down his chopsticks and headed straight towards Meng Liangting and the others. Jiuyi, why are you here? Meng Liangting saw Jiuyi walking towards her from afar and asked. Songmu looked back and was extremely surprised. How could he be so lucky to meet Jiuyi? Songmu hesitated for a moment and stood up first. Oh, it's Mr. Jiu, why are you here? Jiuyi glanced at him, then at Meng Liangting. Did you make an appointment with her? Seeing that he seemed unhappy, Meng Liangting stood up and tugged at his sleeve. Jiuyi stared at Songmu, and a chill ran down his spine. Don't set your sights on her, or don't blame me for being rude to you. Jiuyi warned Songmu seriously, and it didn't look like he was joking. Songmu's smile faded and he looked at Jiuyi. What's your relationship with her that makes you care so much? Jiuyi snorted coldly. The fact that she is the mother of my child is enough. Meng Liangting listened to their conversation, fearing that Jiuyi would take action directly. Songmu wanted to say something, but Jiuyi didn't give him a chance and directly grabbed Meng Liangting's hand. Come with me. His grip was so strong that Meng Liangting couldn't break free and had no choice but to follow him. Jiuyi held her with one hand, took out his phone with the other hand, and called his assistant. Take Doubao back to the car. The assistant hung up the phone and quickly took Doubao to the car. Meng Liangting was dragged to the car by Jiuyi. You hurt me. Meng Liangting shook off his hand with an impatient look on her face. Jiuyi stared at her with a sharp look in his eyes. What is your relationship with Songmu now? Meng Liangting stopped rubbing her wrist and hesitated. It's okay. She answered hesitantly. Jiuyi glared at him. It doesn't matter, why are you entangled with him? Meng Liangting felt that she was wronged and said in defense. Where did you see me entangled with him? Guez said with reason and evidence, I heard everything he said to you. Meng Liangting felt that he was meddling too much. Don't forget, we are just in a contractual relationship, and I am just Doubao's contracted mother. Chapter 11 Taking Back the Deed. Meng Liangting was right, and Guez didn't know how to refute it for a moment. After hesitating for a while, he said, okay, it's just a contract, you wait. Guez muttered to himself. Meng Liangting didn't hear it clearly and was too lazy to ask. She just sat in the back seat quietly and watched the assistant bring the bean bun over. Beautiful mother. As soon as the assistant opened the car door, Little Sweetbean and Little Sweetbao threw themselves into Meng Liangting's arms. Meng Liangting smiled then, do you too miss your aunt? Xiao Qianbao rubbed against her arms, of course I did. Guez was watching this scene from the front and said jealously, you two have never been so happy to see me. Little Sweetbean looked at him and said proudly, Dad sees me every day, but you don't see your beautiful mom every day. Guez vaguely heard a hint of disdain for him in his words. Drive Miss Meng back. Guez ordered. The assistant nodded slightly, stepped on the accelerator, and the car started moving. Meng Liangting didn't talk to Guez along the way and had a lot of fun playing with Doubao. When they arrived at the door of their house, Meng Liangting said goodbye to Doubao, got out of the car, and was about to go upstairs when she was stopped by Guez. Wait! Guez rolled down the window and shouted. Meng Liangting stopped and looked back, anything else? Guez said with a hint of toughness in his tone, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning and take you somewhere. Meng Liangting was a little disgusted by his overbearing tone, I still have to shoot a movie tomorrow. Guez said casually, it's up to you whether you want to go to the Meng family's old house or not. After hearing this, Meng Liangting immediately changed her words, okay, come pick me up tomorrow morning. Guez knew that she would definitely go, so he rolled up the car window and left. Meng Liangting returned home, thinking that she had been away for so long and was finally going back. This time she must take back what belonged to her. After spending the night in anxiety and excitement, Meng Liangting got up early the next morning, washed and dressed, and sat in a chair waiting for Guez. Half an hour later, the Rolls-Royce stopped downstairs and honked twice. Meng Liangting ran over to take a look and shouted, I'll be there right away. Then she quickly picked up her phone and bag and ran out. As soon as I got in the car, I heard Guez order, go to Meng's house. The assistant stepped on the accelerator, and the car quickly shuttled through the city and finally stopped at the door of Meng's house. Meng Liangting got out of the car and was now standing outside the gate, looking at the villa with mixed feelings. I haven't been back for 3 years, and there is still no change here. Guez glanced at her and asked, is the deed in the hands of Zhu Ranran and her daughter? Meng Liangting nodded. That thing should have belonged to her, but it was snatched away by Zhu Ranran and her daughter. Guez didn't say anything. He asked his assistant to open the gate and walked in with Meng Liangting. When they reached the door, Guez reached out and knocked on it. Zhu Ranran inside called out, who is it? Guez didn't say anything and knocked twice more. Zhu Ranran was putting on makeup and lipstick. She went to open the door impatiently, who is it? It's so early in the morning. As soon as she opened the door she was stunned. He was arrogant and domineering just now, but he immediately changed when he saw Guez. Let's go. Guez ignored Zhu Ranran, took Meng Liangting's hand and walked into their house. This caught Zhu Ranran off guard. When her mother heard someone breaking in, she hurried out of the kitchen. Who is it? Zhu's mother shouted. Zhu Ranran also ran over. Guez, what are you doing bringing Meng Liangting to my house? Guez looked at her coldly, your house. As far as I know, this house is occupied by you and your daughter. Meng Liangting stood behind Guez, looked at the faces of Zhu's mother and daughter, and smiled contemptuously. They probably didn't expect that one day they would come back to collect the debt. Zhu Ranran looked at Guez's expression and felt a little uneasy. Mr. Gu, this house is what we deserve, mother and daughter. Besides, this is our home anyway, so there is no need for you to interfere. Guez smiled contemptuously, really? I remember this area is our company's territory. When Guez said this, he sounded quite wealthy. Zhu Ranran looked unhappy, what on earth do you want to do? Guez looked at the room and curled his lips, give the title deed back to Meng Liangting. Ju's mother jumped out immediately after hearing this. What did you say? Gu Yizi took out a document and stuffed it into Ju's mother's hand. It clearly says that this house belongs to Meng Liangting. Come, open it and take a look. Ju Ranran leaned over and looked through it with her mother for a long time. All the clauses on the letter were in favor of Meng Liangting. Gu Yizi, don't think I don't know. My father didn't make a will before he died. Ju Ranran spoke with reason and evidence, and Gu Ye smiled contemptuously. You have also read the documents. If you are still unwilling to hand over the deed, then Miss Ju, you can wait to be sued in court and your reputation will be ruined. After Gu Yizi finished speaking, he picked up the documents and prepared to leave, but was stopped by Ju Ranran. She knew Gu Yizi's strength very well. In the entire film and television industry, who wouldn't want to get Gu Yizi's investment? Which producer and director wouldn't give him face? We can discuss it if we have anything to discuss. Ju Ranran looked at Gu Yizi and said timidly. Gu Yizi glanced at her. House deed. Ju Ranran walked to the bedroom reluctantly and took out the house deed. Now that you have the title deed, stop trying to kill us. Ju Ranran handed over the title deed, saying aggrievedly. Meng Liangting walked over and snatched it away. I didn't expect that I would have this day. Seeing her smile, Gu Yizi couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, but only for a moment. Ms. Ju, 3 years ago, when the Meng family fell, you and your daughter quickly changed your surnames and snatched this house. People outside are saying that you and your daughter are heartless and shameless. You probably haven't heard these words. Meng Liangting didn't expect such words to come out of Gu Yizi's mouth, and was a little surprised. Ju's mother and daughter looked unhappy, but they didn't dare to say anything and could only swallow their anger. Gu Yizi achieved his goal and said to Ju Ranran, you have 3 hours, move out quickly. After that, he took Meng Liangting into the car and sent her home. Ju Ranran had nowhere to go, so she could only ask Song Mu for help. Hey, Song Mu, the house deed of my house was taken away by Gu Yizi, can I bring my mom to live with you for a while? After hearing this, Song Mu hesitated whether to help them or not, but finally agreed in order to avoid being talked about. Ju Ranran and her mother packed their luggage and moved to Song Mu's house like 2 stray dogs. Chapter 12 Dobao's Contract. Gu Yizi sent Meng Liangting to the door of her home. Meng Liangting felt that she should thank him properly for what happened today. So she invited him upstairs. Would you like to go upstairs and sit for a while? After hearing this, Gu Yizi immediately agreed, okay. Then he got out of the car, leaving only the assistant waiting in the car. Meng Liangting didn't expect that he would agree so readily, so she took him upstairs. Opening the door, Meng Liangting bowed and said, come in. Gu Yizi walked over with confidence, and his attitude was as natural as if he was going back to his own home. After entering the room, Meng Liangting helped him find a pair of slippers, and Gu Yizi looked around the room. The room is clean and tidy, and is well maintained by Meng Liangting. You've helped me so much today, I have to thank you very much. Meng Liangting said as she poured him some water. Gu Yizi became interested when he heard her say that. How do you want to thank me? Meng Liangting thought about it. Gu Yizi was not short of money. He had everything he needed. She really couldn't think of anything to give him. You can ask for anything. As long as I can do it, I will definitely agree to it. That was all she could say. Gu Yizi thought about it for a moment and gave a meaningful smile. Then I want you to promise me that you will not have any unclear relationship with others in the future. He put forward the condition. Meng Liangting smiled and said, this is a small matter, easy. Gu Yizi took a sip of water, put down the cup and said again, one more thing. Meng Liangting pulled out a chair and sat down. Just ask if you have anything else. Gu Yizi took out the house deed, held it in his hand, and stared at Meng Liangting. I think the contract between us can be annulled. I want to make a new request. Meng Liangting felt that he didn't have any good ideas, but since he had said it, he had to keep his promise. Tell me about it. Gu Yizi suddenly revealed an impudent and teasing smile. He really liked the woman in front of him more and more, but every time she refused to get close to him, he could only use his ultimate move. I want you to have sex with me 5 times before I will give it to you. What? 5 times? That. Which one? Meng Liangting asked, and then she reacted instantly. She suddenly felt helpless about his request, how could you make such an unreasonable request? Guez smiled playfully, don't you want this title deed anymore? Meng Liangting sighed, shameless. You actually threatened me with this. We clearly just agreed that if you help me, I will be the mother of your child. I have given so much, and you still treat me like this. You also said you're the mom and I'm the dad, so aren't we both normal? Meng Liangting took a deep breath. Forget it. For revenge, she would risk everything. Besides, Jiu Yez was not ugly, he was handsome, and had great power. She would make a fortune. She comforted herself in her heart. Okay, I promise you, but you have to keep your word. Jiu Yez nodded, which was considered as his agreement. After sitting at Meng Liangting's house for a while, Jiu Yez went back. Thinking about what happened today, he actually felt a sense of pride and happiness. The next morning, Meng Liangting just woke up and received a message from Jiu Yez, come directly to my house, Do Bao is waiting for you. I have already asked for leave from the crew. Meng Liangting looked at her phone and really looked down upon the way Jiu Yez, the overbearing president, acted. He always likes to make decisions for himself on everything, without really considering my feelings. Meng Liangting sat on the edge of the bed and thought for a long time, and finally got up to put on makeup. After packing up, Meng Liangting went downstairs and saw Jiu Yez's car parked downstairs. Ms. Meng, Mr. Jiu asked me to pick you up. The assistant rolled down the window and said. Meng Liangting got in the car and the assistant took him to Jiu Yez's house. As soon as she entered the door, a servant prepared slippers for Meng Liangting. Welcome, Miss Meng. An aunt smiled at Meng Liangting, and Meng Liangting politely responded. Do Bao heard Meng Liangting's voice and ran down the stairs. Beautiful mother, you are here. As he said that, he threw himself into Meng Liangting's arms. Meng Liangting carried them both in her arms as they walked in. Jiu Yez was sitting alone on the sofa in his pajamas, looking lazy, but that did not affect the masculine charm that emanated from him all the time. Meng Liangting walked over with Do Bao, and Jiu Yez looked up at her and said, there's a room prepared for you upstairs, go up and take a look. Meng Liangting roughly understood what she meant after hearing this, and coaxed Do Bao, you two can play by yourselves for a while, and auntie will go up and take a look. After saying that, he went upstairs alone. Jiu Yez put down the coffee in his hand and walked straight upstairs. Meng Liangting was waiting for him at the stairs. When she saw him coming up, she asked directly, which room? Jiu Yez pointed to the room with the open door. Meng Liangting didn't say anything else and walked straight in. Jiu Yez followed in and closed the door. Meng Liangting looked at him, as if she knew what he was going to do. Jiu Yez walked up to her, and before Meng Liangting could react, she was pushed against the cold wall by him, with no way to retreat. Then, he suddenly kissed her with his lips. Meng Liangting's body suddenly jolted, as if an electric current ran through her heart. She opened her eyes wide and saw only Jiu Yez's thick eyelashes fluttering. The kiss was long and gentle. Meng Liangting struggled for a few times but gave up. The movement became deeper and deeper. Meng Liangting almost couldn't breathe. Just when she was about to make a sound, Jiu Yez suddenly let her go. Originally thinking that he was going to use it up once, Meng Liangting looked at Jiu Yez in confusion. What for? Jiu Yez stroked her cheek, turned around and left, and said before leaving, I can't bear to use such a precious opportunity. Just as they were about to go downstairs, they were seen by Do Bao. They looked at Meng Liangting in the room and felt that she seemed unhappy. They pulled Jiu Yez's sleeve and said, Dad, did you bully the pretty mom? The pretty mom is unhappy. Meng Liangting looked at the two little guys, feeling a bit amused and helpless, and hurried over to comfort them. My dear baby, you misunderstood. We were just playing. Little Sweetbin looked at Meng Liangting's messy clothes and looked at Jiu Yez with her hands on her hips. Dad, tell me, did you bully our beautiful mom? You should confess and I will punish you if you resist. Jiu Yez really had no way to resist this little guy, and could only reveal a helpless smile. Chen Do misunderstood, Daddy is really playing a game with Auntie. Little Sweetbin stood in front of Meng Liangting, looking very powerful, and said fiercely, Dad, you are lying. Jiu Yez looked at him aggrievedly, Dad, how could I lie? Everything I said is true. Meng Liangting looked at the two little ones and didn't know whether to cry or laugh for a moment. She thought they were so funny. Little Sweet Bun climbed onto Jiu Yez's back, and little Sweetbin followed and climbed into Guez's arms. The two little guys came one after the other. Dad, you are surrounded by us now, you have to be good and obedient. Guez could only cooperate with the two of them. Okay, I will definitely cooperate. Little Sweetbin shouted seriously, Dad, you have to sign a contract with us. You are not allowed to enter the beautiful mother's room without our permission. Little Sweetie echoed from behind, Yes, Dad, you have to agree to us. If you don't agree, we will be angry. Guez felt helpless towards the two little guys and could only agree, Okay, I promise you, I will never go in without your permission in the future. Now, come down quickly. Chapter 13 New Turbulence. The two little guys got off Guez only after hearing his assurance. Meng Liangting looked at the two little guys, they were so cute. Beautiful mother, do you want to stay today? The little sweet boy pulled Meng Liangting's hand and begged her to stay. Meng Liangting shook her head, Auntie has to go back to her own home. Little Sweetie pointed to the room she had just come out of. This room is specially prepared by Daddy for beautiful mommy. This is also your home. Meng Liangting glanced at Guez, who had his hands around his shoulders and said indifferently, Doubao has been looking for you recently, so why don't you stay here for a while? Meng Liangting was surrounded by the two little ones and could only agree temporarily. After staying overnight at Guez's house, the crew started work early the next morning and Meng Liangting got up to go filming. Before leaving, I went to see the two little guys, they were sleeping soundly. Meng Liangting gently closed the door and was about to leave when she was stopped by Guez. Going to film? Guez asked, and Meng Liangting nodded. I haven't been to film for several days. I have to go back quickly. Guez picked up the car keys and said, I'll take you there. Meng Liangting did not refuse and followed him into the car. The two of them had just arrived at the set and heard Zhu Ranran's voice before they got out of the car. Director, wasn't Shen Gujuan's role mine before? Now that Meng Liangting is being pushed into the spotlight, it might as well be replaced by me. The director looked at her, not expecting that she still remembered this. However, he had already decided on Meng Liangting, and there was no reason to change her midway. Besides, Meng Liangting had Guez behind her, so how could he dare to change her? Ms. Zhu, we've been filming for several days. Isn't it great for you to play the second female lead? Zhu Ranran put her hands on her hips, looking like a shrew. I don't care, I just want to play Shen Gujuan. Guez glanced at Meng Liangting, opened the door and got out of the car. Meng Liangting also followed, and the two of them walked in front of Zhu Ranran. Ms. Zhu, I heard that you are going to play Shen Gujuan. This was the first thing Guez said, and Zhu Ranran swallowed. Yes, Meng Liangting is caught in the public opinion now, and has a lot of haters. What's wrong with me playing the role instead? Guez was somewhat skeptical about her inexplicable self-confidence, wondering where she got such great confidence from. I remember you took on a role of a tragic heroine. Act that role well first. After saying that, he patted Zhu Ranran on the shoulder. Zhu Ranran was holding her breath but didn't dare to say anything. Meng Liangting didn't want to argue with Zhu Ranran at all, so she walked aside to put on makeup. The skirt was broken that day and the whole scene needed to be reshot. The director presented the newly made skirt to Meng Liangting. Teacher Meng, look, this is a new skirt, check it out. Meng Liangting took the skirt and looked at it carefully, then glanced at Zhu Ranran on the side, put it away, so that it won't be tampered with again. The director quickly did as he was told, and Guez left after watching Meng Liangting put on her makeup. There are 3 scenes today, one of which is the rivalry between Meng Liangting and Zhu Ranran. The character played by Zhu Ranran and the heroine played by Meng Liangting met at a cocktail party. The two wore the same clothes and Zhu Ranran was talked about. Meng Liangting looked at the script and was very satisfied. This script really touched my heart. Director, please rehearse more plays like this in the future. The director looked at Meng Liangting's expression, roughly understood what she meant, and quickly said, hey. Zhu Ranran felt very jealous watching the director's fawning look. Zhu Ranran felt unbalanced seeing Meng Liangting being the center of attention while she was alone with only an assistant. After thinking for a long time, he decided to do something. After finishing the filming that night, Zhu Ranran returned to Songmu's house. Songmu bought dinner, and after eating, Zhu Ranran said that she had something to do and went back to her room. Songmu was too lazy to bother him and went to play with his phone. Ju Ranran was sitting on the bed with a laptop on her legs. She thought about it for a long time, turned on the computer, and created a small account. She started writing articles to discredit Meng Liangting. She didn't believe that the director would still use her to play Shen Gujuan after Meng Liangting was discredited. Ju Ranran's hands were tapping the keyboard quickly, typing away. After half an hour of creative process, Ju Ranran finally finished it. Looking at the words on the screen, Ju Ranran sent it out while drinking coffee. This article is written very sharply and from a very tricky angle, starting from what happened to Meng Liangting 3 years ago. The above story tells that Meng Liangting had an affair with a man 3 years ago and later gave birth to a child for him. In the end, he abandoned his family and went abroad alone, which made his father so angry that he died in the hospital. Disregarding the family's reputation and doing such a shameful thing is simply a moral degradation. Ju Ranran also specifically mentioned that Meng Liangting took the initiative to find a strange man and even gave birth to a child for him. It is estimated that the man was also a rich man. As soon as Ju Ranran posted the article, it immediately received thousands of clicks and visits. Ju Ranran commented below, "How can such a woman be worthy of playing the leading female role in Wanchuan? How can she be worthy of playing Shen Gujuan?" Her pace instantly attracted the attention of a large number of passers-by. Is this post true? Doesn't it say that Meng Liangting is very noble? Aloof? She and you have been involved in several scandals, how can she be aloof? Ju Ranran felt very proud as she watched the comments increase one by one. This is exactly the effect she wanted. The previous incident with Gu Yizi's child has already brought Meng Liangting a lot of bad reputation. This time, Ju Ranran's goal is to confuse Meng Liangting once and for all so that she can get promoted. After a night of fermentation, Meng Liangting gained a large number of black fans. The most important thing in the entertainment industry is reputation. After these two incidents, Meng Liangting's reputation is no longer very good, and the number of black fans has doubled. When Meng Liangting arrived on the set to film, she felt that there was something wrong with the way the staff looked at her. It was only when she was looking at her phone in her free time that she discovered the article posted by Ju Ranran. With millions of reposts and tens of thousands of comments, Meng Liangting was overwhelmed. He closed his eyes and rubbed his temples, wondering who he had offended recently. But after thinking about it, the only person who could do such a thing is probably Ju Ranran. She tried hard to concentrate on her work and not think about these things. While working in the company, Gu Yizi accidentally saw a Weibo message push to his mobile phone. When he opened it, he found that it was about Meng Liangting. He read it carefully. Before I finished reading, the assistant knocked on the door. "Boss Gu, I have found out what you asked me to investigate." Gu Yizi stretched out his hand. "Let me see it." The assistant quickly handed it over, and Gu Yizi took the document handed over by the assistant. He had asked them to find the woman who gave birth to Qiando and Qianbao, and now they have the news. When he opened it, the innocent face with a sweet smile in the photo instantly stimulated his heart. He felt sweet, yet a little nervous. The woman he had been looking for 3 years ago turned out to be Meng Liangting. Chapter 14, Old Stories Revisited. After looking at it, Gu Yizi's expression became solemn and he threw it directly on the table. Seeing that he was in a bad mood, the assistant didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly left, closing the door considerately. Gu Yizi had a hunch that the person from 3 years ago might be Meng Liangting, but he didn't expect it to be her. Thinking back to the post he had just seen that slandered Meng Liangting, Gu Yizi frowned. Meng Liangting finished filming the movie and felt a little depressed. The bottle in the post deeply hurt her heart. What those people said were very unpleasant, and they even started to insult her dead father, which was the most unacceptable thing for her. Meng Liangting walked alone along the river, feeling the wind and hugging herself silently. She had heard before that cyberbullying was terrible, and now she had truly experienced it. She felt a little helpless, but she also deeply realized that in this internet age many people will blindly follow the trend, which is normal. Since she chose the entertainment industry, she has to endure this. She calmed down for a long time before returning to Gu Yizi's house. When Xiao Qiando and the others saw Meng Liangting coming back, they quickly stuck to her. On one side, the aunt was holding 2 bowls of rice, and it seemed that she was feeding the 2 little ones. "Young master, young lady, please stop running. I can't catch up with you," Auntie said breathlessly while holding a bowl of rice. Meng Liangting looked at the 2 little guys, gently rubbed their hair and smiled. You two don't want to eat properly, do you? Little Sweetbin stuck out his tongue with an innocent look. Meng Liangting took the bowl of rice from the aunt's hand and said, "Let me feed you." The aunt was finally liberated, and she quickly went to the side to pound her waist, looking like she had done some strenuous work. "I'll feed you too. If you don't eat, I'll move out today." Meng Liangting pretended to threaten the two little guys. Doubao was so scared that he quickly took the bowl and ate obediently. "We will be obedient, beautiful mother, don't leave." Little Sweetbin stuffed food into his mouth as he spoke, looking very cute. Meng Liangting nodded. "Okay, if you guys eat well, I won't leave." I don't know why, even though I knew that these two children were not my biological children, Meng Liangting still felt very happy when she saw them. After coaxing them to eat, the aunt took them to take a bath. Meng Liangting returned to her room alone. She was not in a good mood and was in a daze, hugging the quilt. Gu Yizi came home from get off work, looked at the shoes placed at the door, changed into slippers and went straight upstairs. The door of Meng Liangting's room was ajar. Ji Yuyes didn't knock but pushed the door open and walked in. Meng Liangting looked up at him. "Why did you come in?" Ji Yuyizi glanced at her, then walked straight to the bed and sat down. "I have something to ask you." Ji Yuyizi's tone was a little overbearing. Meng Liangting hugged the quilt. "Ask." She seemed to have guessed what Ji Yuyizi was going to ask. "Is that article on the internet true?" Ji Yuyizi looked at her straight. Meng Liangting took a deep breath and couldn't hold back her tears. It fell on the quilt. Ji Yuyizi was a little surprised. He had never seen her cry before, but this time she actually cried. "Just talk, why are you crying?" Ji Yuyizi frowned and looked at Meng Liangting. Meng Liangting felt wronged and couldn't control her tears. She cried so hard that she couldn't even speak. Ji Yuyizi sat beside the bed and kept looking at him, with an indescribable feeling in his heart. Just as he reached out his hand to comfort Meng Liangting, Doubao ran over after taking a bath. "Dad, how did you get in?" Little Sweetie shouted, and ran in, with Little Sweetie following closely behind her. Meng Liangting looked at the two of them and forced a smile. "You two have taken a nice bath." Little Sweetie looked at Ji Yuyes, who was sitting beside the bed, and tugged at his clothes. "Dad, did you make your beautiful mom cry?" Ji Yuyizi looked at the two of them innocently. "No, Daddy is not mad at her." Little Sweetbin put his hands on his waist and pointed in the direction of the door. "Dad, get out quickly, didn't we sign a contract?" Ji Yuyizi looked at the two children. They were so biased towards Meng Liangting. He was so innocent, yet he was being scolded. The sweet girl held Meng Liangting's hand and said, "Don't be afraid, beautiful mom. Let's drive the bad guys out." Then she jumped off the bed and pushed Ji Yuyizi. "Dad, you are a bad guy. Get out now." Ji Yuyizi felt very aggrieved when his own children said this to him and wanted to explain to them both. But the two children didn't give him a chance and pushed him out, which made Ji Yuyizi helpless. At this time, he saw the aunt holding the two children back to the room. It seemed that he could only coax them to sleep before going in. Ji Yuyizi hurriedly followed them and told them bedtime stories to please them. Meng Liangting sat in the room, wiping her tears and trying hard to control her emotions. Ji Yuyizi took great pains to coax the children to sleep. He watched them both fall into deep sleep before he walked out. He really was helpless with these two children. Ji Yuyizi returned to Meng Liangting's room, and this time he knocked on the door gently. Meng Liangting heard the noise and said in a hoarse voice, "Come in." Only then did Ji Yuyizi walk in and turn on the light in the room. Meng Liangting's eyes were swollen from crying, and she used the quilt to cover them. Ji Yuyizi gently sat down on the bed and patted Meng Liangting on the back. "Are you okay?" Meng Liangting rubbed her eyes and said nothing. The two of them were silent for a while, but Ji Yuyizi couldn't help but ask first, "Don't be sad, no matter whether the news is true or false, I will not let the person who leaked the news go." Meng Liangting inexplicably felt a sense of security after hearing his words. She took a deep breath and said hoarsely, "I had no choice 3 years ago. I really needed money at that time." Ji Yuyizi frowned and looked at her, listening to her words. "My father's company was facing bankruptcy at the time. I just wanted to raise money to save my father's company, but in the end the company still went bankrupt, and my father also." When Meng Liangting said this, her eyes became red again. Her father's matter was a knot in her heart, and she would feel sad whenever it was mentioned. Guez looked at her crying so sadly, hesitated for a moment, and gently patted her back with his warm hands. He had never felt so sorry for a woman before. This was the first time he felt so heartbroken seeing a woman cry. Meng Liangting tried hard to suppress the sadness in her heart. I am not as miserable as they say. I really had no choice. Do you believe it? Meng Liangting looked at Guez. Guez frowned and pulled her into his arms, gently stroking her hair. I believe you. I believe you. I know what happened 3 years ago. Meng Liangting suddenly felt safe when listening to his words. His words also made Meng Liangting very curious. Did he really know what happened 3 years ago? Chapter 15 Zhu Ranran was hacked. Guez held Meng Liangting for a long time before letting go. The two looked at each other, and Meng Liangting asked him curiously, do you really know what happened 3 years ago? Guez didn't say much, just comforted her. You have a good rest. I promised Qindo Qianbao that you will take them to school tomorrow morning. After saying that, Guez got up and left. Meng Liangting was alone in the room, thinking about what Guez had just said. She felt that what Guez said just now must not be groundless, but he only said half of it, so she couldn't guess. After thinking for a long time, Meng Liangting simply rubbed her hair and went to sleep. The next morning, Meng Liangting crawled out of bed and rubbed her slightly swollen eyes. She went to the bathroom to wash up, and seeing her swollen eyes, Meng Liangting quickly put on sunglasses. After packing up and going downstairs, Doubao had already put on his clothes, and Meng Liangting carried them into the car. When we got to the kindergarten, I sent them to the school gate and reminded them, you must listen to the teacher at school and eat on time. The little sweetie said, in a baby voice, which was so adorable. Meng Liangting smiled and watched the two children enter the school before leaving. After sending the child to school, Meng Liangting sat alone in the car and hesitated for a long time before she mustered up the courage to go to the set. She was a little scared of the strange looks from those people, but the scene still had to be filmed, so she stepped on the accelerator and drove to the scene. The director walked over with a smile on his face. Teacher Meng, you are here. This is today's play. Please take a look. Meng Liangting was a little surprised when she saw the director's state. He was avoiding her yesterday, but why did he turn into a fawning face today? Meng Liangting took the script and said, okay, I'll read it while I put on my makeup. The director said, hey, and stepped aside to explain the scene to other actors. Meng Liangting silently observed the people in the crew. Their attitude towards her seemed to have changed. She wondered why these people stopped talking about her secretly. Curiosity prompted Meng Liangting to open her mobile phone and check Weibo. I just realized that someone was controlling the comments under the Weibo post that Zhu Ranran posted. She also saw another post which said that Guez had been secretly in love with Meng Liangting 3 years ago. It's just that the two of them didn't make it public and it wasn't known by the media, so it was kept secret. Meng Liangting continued to look through the post, which actually included a photo of her and Guez having dinner in a restaurant, and the time was noted. It was 3 years ago. The comments below also became that the child born by Meng Liangting was Guez, and that the relationship between the two had always been good, and she was the woman behind Guez. By the way, he also mentioned that Zhu Ranran was jealous of Meng Liangting, so she had been secretly sabotaging. Meng Liangting looked at the comments below and found that the public opinion had changed. Everyone went to Zhu Ranran's Weibo to scold her. This Zhu Ranran really can't stand seeing others doing well. She even made up such an embarrassing story to discredit others. She is so shameless. Zhu Ranran can't stand others being more popular than herself. People like her are really scary. Meng Liangting looked at the number of comments under her Weibo, which was increasing rapidly, and she actually felt a little proud. The makeup artist who was doing her hair saw her reading Weibo and joked, people nowadays are really willing to do anything to step on others, but her story is really quite shocking. Meng Liangting smiled slightly after hearing this. There is a saying that goes, God will take his own course and no one will be spared. These words happened to be heard by Zhu Ranran, who was passing by, and she immediately became furious. I was originally planning to open my computer to continue to criticize Meng Liangting, but when I opened Weibo, I saw a large group of haters scolding me. Zhu Ranran was stunned at the time, and quickly looked through it, only to find that the online public opinion had suddenly been diverted to her. I don't know who opened an account and exposed his own secondary account. Meng Liangting, just wait for me. Zhu Ranran said, gritting her teeth, and her eyes looked as if she wanted to skin Meng Liangting alive. Meng Liangting felt proud in her heart. Now she could let Zhu Ranran experience what it felt like to be criticized. Let her dare to do those things that discredit herself again, but while being happy, Meng Liangting is still curious about who is silently controlling the comments for her. It must be someone related to her, but after thinking about it, Meng Liangting couldn't think of who could be so kind. In the end, she had no choice but to give up and go back to filming with peace of mind. The incident fermented on the internet for a whole day, and everyone was saying that Zhu Ranran was a cruel and vicious woman. The overwhelming public opinion made Zhu Ranran feel suffocated. For the first time, she felt that she had suffered a great injustice. A person was curled up in a corner crying. Her agent found her and felt a little distressed when he saw her crying so sadly. Now that things have developed to this point, you'd better not go out for the time being, in case someone takes pictures of you. Zhu Ranran got angry after hearing this. Why? I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I hide from them? I don't accept it. Zhu Ranran felt that it was unfair. Why did these people attack her? However, her agent did not give her any chance and directly issued an order. The company requires you to stay indoors for a period of time. You can come out after the public opinion is over. Zhu Ranran sobbed softly, but had to obey the company's orders. The crew did not have a second female lead, so they had to temporarily stop work. Meng Liangting was very happy when she saw Zhu Ranran being taken into the car by her agent, who told her to do all kinds of things that harm others all day long. It's not unfair that she ended up like this. Zhu Ranran was arranged by her agent to stay in a hotel. You should stay here for the time being. I will pick you up after the public opinion has passed. After the agent finished speaking, he turned and left. Zhu Ranran was left in this room with no one around her. This made her break down again and she burst into tears for a full hour. The matter continued to escalate on the internet, and Zhu Ranran could no longer bear it and complained to her mother. Mom, everyone on the internet is scolding me now, what should I do? Zhu Ranran cried to her mother and asked her for help. Mother Zhu felt sorry for her daughter. Ranran, don't cry, Mom will definitely help you. Zhu Ranran cried and nodded. Mom, what should I do now? Mother Zhu thought for a moment, and suddenly remembered something. I remember that the copy of the contract signed by Meng Liangting and Gu Yizi is still in my hand. I will send it to you now. Zhu Ranran seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw, and quickly hung up the phone and turned on the computer. After receiving the contract from Zhu's mother, she took a quick look at it and immediately asked someone to post it online, claiming that the relationship between Meng Liangting and Gu Yizi was just a business relationship. Chapter 16, Finding the Truth. Zhu Ranran threw out the contract, hoping to shift the public's attention to Meng Liangting. As soon as Meng Liangting opened her Weibo, she saw messages from fans. Sister, is the relationship between you and Mr. Gu really just a contractual one? That can't be true, right? Meng Liangting frowned and looked at the picture under the fan's message. When she opened it, she saw the contract she had signed. At that time, I felt that something was wrong. How could this contract be posted online? It was my father who mentioned the surrogacy, so how could other people know about it? The more she thought about it, the more she felt that something was not right. If the contract was in her father's hands, it would never have been discovered, unless there was something fishy behind it. Meng Liangting thought about it over and over again, and always felt that something was fishy, and she had to find out what was going on. Thinking of this, Meng Liangting put on her shoes and went straight to Songmu's house. She knew that Songmu must know the truth. When Meng Liangting discovered the contract, Ji Yuyez also saw it and his face looked very unhappy. Go and see who issued this contract. Ji Yuyez ordered coldly, and the assistant hurried down to do their work. Meng Liangting called Songmu while driving. Songmu saw that it was Meng Liangting calling and quickly picked up the phone. Hey, Liangting, you're looking for me? Songmu asked in a mean way. Meng Liangting asked directly, are you home? When Songmu heard that they were going to look for him at home, he quickly replied, I'm here. Meng Liangting simply ordered, wait for me at home. After hanging up the phone, she went straight to Songmu's house. Songmu thought Meng Liangting had changed her mind and wanted to reconcile with him, so he happily waited for her at home. Zhu's mother fell asleep in the room. After Songmu confirmed again and again that she was asleep, he hurried to the living room to wait. Meng Liangting drove all the way to Songmu's house, got out of the car and walked in aggressively. As soon as Songmu saw her, his face was full of excitement and excitement. "Liangting, you are here, have you changed your mind?" Meng Liangting wanted to beat him up when she saw how shameless he was, but she held back. "I came here today to find an answer." Meng Liangting looked at Songmu seriously. Seeing how serious she was, Songmu quickly pulled her to sit down and said, "Let's talk slowly. What truth do you want to find out?" Meng Liangting looked at him with a pair of eyes, more serious than ever. "Do you know about my surrogacy 3 years ago?" When Meng Liangting asked, Songmu's expression changed immediately, and he nodded nervously. "I know." Meng Liangting continued to ask, "Then do you know who asked me to be a surrogate mother 3 years ago? Was it Dad's idea?" When Songmu heard this question, he hesitated, his eyes avoided her, and he didn't dare to look her in the eye. "After all, I was also involved in it 3 years ago." If Meng Liangting knew about it, there would be no hope for them to get back together. "Well, why did you think of asking this?" Songmu asked her with a smile. Meng Liangting didn't smile at all. "Tell me what happened back then." Songmu scratched his hair, looking a little embarrassed. "This matter is all a misunderstanding, don't pursue it, after all, it's been so long." Meng Liangting knew something was wrong when she saw his condition, so she continued to ask, "What's going on? Tell me now." Songmu sighed and pounded his hands, looking like he had made a huge decision. "Since you want to know the truth so much, I have no choice but to tell you," Songmu said with difficulty. After a long speech, he finally told the truth. "In fact, it was not your father who proposed this, but Ranran and her mother." After Songmu finished speaking, he lowered his head and didn't dare to look at Meng Liangting. Meng Liangting was so angry when she heard the news that she almost fainted. Sure enough, the Jew mother and daughter have no good intentions. They actually dared to lie to me. Meng Liangting clenched her fists tightly, veins bulged on her hands, and she looked very angry. The Jew mother and daughter dared to harm me and trick me into a surrogate pregnancy. I will settle this account with them sooner or later. Just wait. Meng Liangting made some harsh remarks and was about to leave, but was stopped by Songmu. "Liangting, don't be angry. After all, it's over. There's no point in pursuing it any further." Meng Liangting looked back at him and shook off his hand. "Don't think I don't know. You must have been involved in what happened back then. I'm afraid you were already involved with Ju Ranran when I went to have a surrogate pregnancy." Meng Liangting's words hit the nail on the head, leaving Songmu speechless, and he could only go over and pull her over. "Liangting, don't be angry. I will definitely make it up to you. Can you calm down?" Meng Liangting took a deep breath, felt very upset, pushed him away, opened the door and left. Songmu felt a little annoyed and regretted telling her about it. However, their conversation just now had been heard by Ju's mother, and she turned around and told Ju Ranran about Songmu comforting Meng Liangting. "Ranran, Meng Liangting just came over to ask about what happened 3 years ago, and Songmu told her everything. Also, I heard Songmu comforting Meng Liangting, and his attitude towards her was like trying to please her. You have to be careful." When Ju Ranran heard the news, she was furious. "Mom, did you really hear Songmu comforting and trying to please Meng Liangting?" Mother Ju said with certainty, "I heard it with my own ears. I had just woken up at that time." Ju Ranran was so angry that her mouth was a little stiff. Okay, I must ask him carefully." After saying that, he hung up the phone with Ju's mother and turned around to call Songmu. Songmu had just sent Meng Liangting away, and felt a little guilty when he saw Ju Ranran's phone call, but he still picked up the phone. "Hey, Ranran, what's wrong?" Songmu came up with a concerned tone. Ju Ranran shouted, "Did you see Meng Liangting just now?" Songmu hesitated for a moment, looked in the direction of Ju's mother's room, and roughly understood. Yes, she came to ask me something." Ju Ranran gnashed her teeth and said, "Are you still comforting her gently?" Songmu wanted to defend himself, but Ju Ranran didn't give him a chance and continued talking. "You were obviously not like this before. Didn't you despise Meng Liangting the most? Didn't you hate her the most? Why are you moved again now that she's with Gu Yizi? You want her to support you?" Ju Ranran spoke very harshly. Songmu felt that she was really insulting him and was very angry, so the two of them started arguing. "Ju Ranran, tell me again, I'm your boyfriend, how dare you belittle me like this? Songmu also raised his voice, and Ju's mother inside could hear it clearly. Both of them were very angry and neither of them would give in. They were arguing fiercely, but Ju's mother never came out to mediate. Chapter 17 Warmth in the Heart. Ju Ranran was so emotional that she even smashed her phone in anger during the argument. After hearing the crackling sound on the other end, Songmu hung up the phone and ignored her. Meng Liangting came out of Songmu's house and drove alone. The more she thought about what happened 3 years ago, the angrier she became. She was so anxious to save her father at the time that she didn't think about anything else, so she agreed to surrogacy. Now that I think about it, I was too impulsive and didn't pursue the matter. As Meng Liangting thought about it, she became so angry that she slammed the steering wheel twice with her hands to vent her anger. But no matter how hard she knocked, she still felt uncomfortable. In the end, she could only park the car on the side of the road and open the window to let in the fresh air. She was afraid that her emotions would affect Guize's house when she returned, so she could only deal with her emotions outside before going back. She leaned over the steering wheel, gasping for breath, trying to calm herself down. After more than 10 minutes, Meng Liangting finally adjusted the car, rolled up the window, and drove back to Guize's house. It was already dark at that time. Meng Liangting parked the car, and without disturbing anyone, she quietly opened the door and went into their house. As soon as I took off my shoes and looked up, I saw Guize standing in front of me with Doubao. It seemed that he had been waiting for me. Meng Liangting put on her slippers and walked over. Guize spoke first, "You're back so late." Meng Liangting looked a little tired. "I just went to deal with some things." Guize knew what she was talking about, so he didn't ask any more questions. He just said, "I've asked someone to delete the contract on the internet." After hearing this, Meng Liangting suddenly felt a little warm in her heart, but she just nodded and said, softly. Guize knew that Meng Liangting was in a bad mood, so he encouraged the two children to coax her. Qian Do immediately understood what his father meant and hurried over with his toys. "Beautiful mother, look how beautiful my car is, let's race to jam the traffic." Meng Liangting took the car from her and smiled for the first time in a long time. "Okay." Qian Bao saw it and quickly came over. "Then I want to compete with you." Qian Do looked at Guize who was sitting on the side and took his hand. "Then Dad, come and compete with us." Meng Liangting looked at the family of 3 and felt they were very warm and sweet. Little Sweetbin was pushing the car in front, and Sweetbun was walking slowly. Meng Liangting looked at them and felt warm in her heart. Meng Liangting only feels relaxed when she is with the 3 of them. Don't worry about online violence or things that make her upset. After playing crazy for a while, the 2 children were tired, so Meng Liangting took them to watch TV. Guize sat aside and watched them silently. When watching the dessert scene in the cartoon, Qiando touched his stomach and said, "Pretty mom, I'm hungry." Then Qianbao also covered his stomach and acted like a spoiled child. "I'm hungry too." Guize saw through the little Zhejiang guy's thoughts and gently poked their foreheads. "You two are really greedy little ghosts. Do you want to eat dessert?" Qianbao nodded first. "Dad, look at how delicious the snacks above look." Meng Liangting doted on the 2 little guys and looked at Guize. "Do you have an oven and butter at home?" Guize nodded. "Yes, Auntie bought it before." Meng Liangting looked at the 2 little guys and said, "Then you guys play by yourselves for a while, I'll do it for you." Doubao nodded obediently, watched Meng Liangting go to the kitchen with anticipation, and played with toys on the side. After Meng Liangting entered the kitchen, she first looked at the oven, and then started preparing the ingredients. Seeing that the 2 children were having fun, Guize slipped into the kitchen. Meng Liangting looked at him. "Why did you come in?" Guize rolled up his sleeves. "I'm here to help you." Meng Liangting looked him up and down. It seemed like he couldn't do anything in this shirt and suit pants outfit. So he refused directly. "No, you are novice, I don't want to trouble you." Guize glanced at her, squinting his eyes and staring at the fruit she was washing. "I guess you want to cut some fruit, right? Let me help you. I'm really good at it." As he said that, he walked over and took the fruit from her hand. Meng Liangting looked at him with some distrust. "Can you do it?" Guize said, "TSK. You dare to question my ability? You are really ignorant. Today I will let you see how powerful I am." After saying that, Guize picked up the kitchen knife, pointed it at the dragon fruit, and cut it in half with one cut. Meng Liangting walked over to take a look and pointed at the dragon fruit on the chopping board. Is that it? Jiu Yizi looked very impressive and nodded, yes. Meng Liangting rolled her eyes and snatched the knife away with a look of disgust. I think you should take a break. I'm afraid Doubao will choke on the food you're cutting. Jiu Yizi listened to his words and couldn't believe that he was actually disliked. This was the first time he was disliked by someone. However, Jiu Yizi still stayed with her, standing in the kitchen and watching Meng Liangting busying around. Oi, move a little to the side, you're getting in my way. Meng Liangting pushed him forward. Unexpectedly, Jiu Yizi hugged her and put his arm around her waist. I don't want to go out. Jiu Yizi said lazily. Meng Liangting pushed him away, feeling somewhat disgusted by his sudden attempt to take advantage of her. Get out of the way. Meng Liangting pushed him away and continued to work. Jiu Yizi looked at her busy figure and walked over. You really don't need my help. As he said that, he slapped Meng Liangting's butt. Meng Liangting pushed him away with a look of disgust. Why are you so aggressive today? Jiu Yizi curled his lips and smiled slightly. As parents, it is normal for us to do these things. Meng Liangting pushed him and said angrily, we are just in a contractual relationship, don't take it seriously. Jiu Yizi sighed and felt helpless looking at Meng Liangting's serious expression. When are you going to return the house deed to me? Meng Liangting asked, putting her hands on her hips. Jiu Yizi thought for a moment and said calmly, I'll pay you back after our 5th time. Meng Liangting looked at the man in front of her and felt that he seemed to be getting more and more excessive. You weren't like this before. Meng Liangting exclaimed. Jiu Yizi looked at her with an innocent look on his face. No. Meng Liangting sighed. Jiu Yizi, please don't go too far. I hope you can keep yourself clean and stop always using some inexplicable excuses to do something to me. Jiu Yizi saw that Meng Liangting looked a little angry, and that angry look actually made him feel a little moved. Chapter 18 I'm moving here. Meng Liangting looked at his evil smile, her face full of anger. Get out of my sight, I don't want to see you now. Meng Liangting cleared Jiu Yizi out directly. Doubao watched Jiu Yizi being pushed out and ran over with ding ding ding. Dad, why were you kicked out by my beautiful mom? Jiu Yizi smiled awkwardly. A pair of eyes looked at the two of them. Your beautiful mother despises me for not being able to help. Tianbao looked at him with a smile. Dad is still disliked by others. Meng Liangting listened to the conversation between several people outside the door, and her anger subsided a little. After adjusting her mood, Meng Liangting concentrated on making desserts. Half an hour later, Meng Liangting came out of the kitchen with a plate of delicious-looking ideas. The dessert is ready, come and try it. Meng Liangting put the dessert on the table and called the two little ones over. After hearing this, Doubao quickly jumped onto Jiu Yizi and said, Dad, take us to eat something delicious. Jiu Yizi sat at the dining table with the two little ones. Looking at the snacks on the table, Jiu Yizi first glanced at Meng Liangting's expression. Guessing she has calmed down, this snack looks delicious. Jiu Yizi picked up the spoon and was about to scoop a spoonful to taste it when Meng Liangting knocked it away. Give it to the children first. Meng Liangting brought the cake to the two children. Qindo picked up the spoon and took a bite with anticipation. Wow, it's really delicious. After hearing this, Tianbao couldn't wait to pick up the spoon and taste it, then looked at Meng Liangting with stars in his eyes. Meng Liangting looked proud and said, You like eating so much? Tianbao nodded, looking very satisfied. Jiu Yizi looked at Meng Liangting's expression, picked up the spoon and tremblingly approached the dessert. He gently scooped a spoonful, put it in his mouth, and then showed a satisfied smile. It's delicious, really delicious. I never eat sweets, but your cooking skills really conquer me. Meng Liangting was visibly proud. My cooking skills have received a lot of praise. Tianbao looked at her smile and pulled Meng Liangting's sleeve. Pretty mother, why don't we move to your room, so that we can eat your cooking every day? Meng Liangting hesitated for a moment, looked at the two of them, and refused. You two still have to go to school, so you'd better stay home. Tianbao felt a little regretful and pouted. Pretty mom, you just dislike us. Meng Liangting was a little helpless about this little guy. You have to be obedient. I will come again when you want to eat what I cook. Jiu Yizi thought about it and suddenly said, Why don't you just move here completely? This way it will be convenient for the two children to see you. When Meng Liangting heard him use the child as a bargaining chip, she refused. No, 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 I am also a public figure now, it is not appropriate for me to live in your house. Guez smiled cheerfully. No, now everyone knows that you are my, Guez's, secret girlfriend. Meng Liangting thought about it carefully and found that it was true. But she still couldn't agree, and found a new excuse. I have to go to film every day, it's inconvenient to leave early and come back late. Guez propped up his chin and looked at her. It's okay, we won't restrict you. Meng Liangting really felt that Guez was very difficult to deal with, but she still couldn't agree to such a thing. I have to take care of everything now. It's more convenient for me to be at home. Let's talk about it later. After saying that, Meng Liangting hurried upstairs to pack her things. She felt that if she stayed here any longer, she would definitely be forced to stay by these guys. So we must leave quickly before Guez can react. Guez watched her walk to the door with her things and wanted to keep her, but he knew clearly in his heart that Meng Liangting had made her decision and he couldn't stop her. However, Doubao and the other two couldn't bear to leave Meng Liangting, so they ran over and pulled her suitcase. Pretty mom, please don't leave. Stay with us for a few more days, just a few days. Meng Liangting held their little hands and said, Auntie has made an appointment with you. I will come to see you tomorrow, okay? Tindo pouted and looked unhappy. Adults are always happy to break their promises. Meng Liangting gently poked his little face. Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. You guys go to bed obediently today, and I'll come over tomorrow when I'm done with my work. Meng Liangting didn't dare to say anything more and quickly got into the car with her luggage. In fact, she was somewhat tempted by Doubao's attempt to keep her, but her principles did not allow her to stay, so she could only leave in a hurry. After returning home, Meng Liangting took a shower, tidied herself up and went to bed. The next day, Meng Liangting got up and went to the set to film. After filming for a whole day, she felt a little tired. I originally planned to go back home, take a shower and rest, and then go see Doubao. Who would have thought that as soon as I got home, I saw Guez standing at my door carrying 2 huge suitcases. Hey, what are you doing here? Meng Liangting shouted and walked over. Guez placed the suitcase in front of her. Since you don't agree to come to my house, then I can only bear the grievance and move to your house. It was the first time that Meng Liangting met such a shameless person who came uninvited. Don't be ridiculous, go back to your home quickly, Doubao still needs your care. Guez forced a smile. Don't worry, I found an aunt to take care of them. Meng Liangting glared at him fiercely. He really was confident in leaving the child in the hands of the aunt. Tianbao has a bad heart, how dare you leave her? Meng Liangting said as she went to open the door. Guez didn't respond. The moment she opened the door, he quickly squeezed in with his luggage. Then he quickly took off his shoes and dragged his luggage into their house. Meng Liangting was a little surprised when she saw his shameless attitude. Why do you, Mr. Gu, want to squeeze in with me? I only have one room here. Where am I going to sleep if you come? Guez looked at her bedroom and put on a shameless smile. It's okay. I can barely stay in the same room with you. Meng Liangting felt like he was joking, and said helplessly, stop making trouble and go back quickly. She kept trying to drive Guez away, but Guez just sat down. I think this bed is very soft and suitable for me. Okay, I want this bed. He pressed the mattress as he spoke. Meng Liangting was angry and said, you still want to occupy the bed? Impossible. Get up. This bed is mine. When Guez looked at her like that, he knew that his plan had succeeded and she, the little fish, had been hooked. So do you want me to sleep on the sofa? I'm a guest. It doesn't make sense to let a guest sleep on the sofa, he said seriously. Chapter 19. What a great acting. Meng Liangting was retorted by him and hesitated for a moment. Well, you can't let a girl like me sleep on the sofa. Guez put his hands behind his back and pressed the sofa. This sofa is quite soft. Since you said so, I will sleep on the sofa reluctantly. Seeing that this man couldn't be driven away, Meng Liangting could only keep him like this. Okay, if you want to sleep here, it's fine, but we have to set some rules. What rules? Guez looked at her with interest. Meng Liangting took a carbon pen and drew a black line on the tile, just separating the bed and the sofa in the middle. This line is the 38th parallel. No matter what you do, you cannot cross this line, you know that. She looked at Guez seriously and said. Guez almost couldn't hold back his laughter when he saw her serious expression. He actually thought that Meng Liangting's behavior was somewhat cute. Okay, this is the line I will definitely not cross. Guez promised solemnly, and Meng Liangting was relieved. The next morning, Meng Liangting set the alarm to get up and go for a run. Guez was a light sleeper and was woken up by the noise. Where are you going so early in the morning? Guez looked at her lazily, holding the quilt. Meng Liangting picked up her phone and said, "Run." Guez really admires these actors for being so self-disciplined for the sake of their figure. Then go ahead, I'll wait for you here. After saying this, Guez turned around and continued to sleep. Meng Liangting ignored him and turned out. After running for an hour, Meng Liangting was sweating all over. When she got home and was about to take a shower, she saw Guez entering the bathroom in his pajamas. She could only wait outside. After half an hour, Guez still hadn't come out. Meng Liangting looked impatient and walked to the bathroom door and knocked. "Hey, did you fall into the toilet?" Guez heard her voice and opened the door lazily. Meng Liangting stumbled into his arms. Guez showed a smug smile. "Hey, when did you become so proactive?" Meng Liangting's face turned a little red, and she quickly ran away with her head down. Guez smiled slightly when he saw her shy look. The more he looked at Meng Liangting, the more he liked her. Meng Liangting sat facing the head of the bed for a long time before she finally calmed down. Guez walked out of the bathroom, sat on the sofa and looked at her. Meng Liangting turned her head to avoid his gaze and said, "I'm going to take a shower." Then she rushed into the bathroom. Guez looked at her with a smile until Meng Liangting came out of the shower. "I'm going to go film in a while, do whatever you want, I'll be back when I'm done." Guez said and lay down on the sofa again. He finally had a chance to rest today and didn't he want to go out? Meng Liangting drove to the set by herself, and the director came over to find her. "Teacher Meng, we are shooting a major scene today. It's your first kissing scene, do you want to communicate with the male actor?" Meng Liangting thought about the male lead. She heard that his parents were bigwigs in the film and television industry, and that he got the role with the help of his family's resources. She was not very optimistic about this actor and did not want to act opposite him. "No need, just go ahead when the filming starts. The current mood is the best." After hearing what she said, the director didn't know what to say and could only agree. "Okay, that's settled." Meng Liangting said and continued to put on makeup. After completing her makeup, Meng Liangting read the script and looked at Xu Weilin, who was standing in the distance. The cooperation between the two of them is not very tacit, and they can only barely express their emotions. Xu Weilin had put on his makeup early, and the two of them changed into their clothes. The director set up the scene and prepared to start filming. Guez couldn't sleep at home and was feeling a little bored, so he thought about visiting Meng Liangting on the set. After driving to the crew, Guez just got out of the car and saw Meng Liangting and Xu Weilin were filming, and the two were about to kiss. Meng Liangting's hair was a little messy, so the director called out for a stop. "Makeup artist, the actress's hair is messy, go over and take a look." Guez took advantage of this opportunity to walk up to the director in 2 or 3 steps. "Wait," he shouted, and the director was startled. "When I turned around and saw him, I had a bad feeling in my heart, Mr. Gu. Why are you here?" Guez looked at Xu Weilin and the others and pulled Meng Liangting. "Come here." He was very strong and Meng Liangting was pulled directly to his side. "What are you doing?" "I'm working." Meng Liangting looked at him with disgust. Guez glanced at Xu Weilin, his eyes filled with murderous intent. "I want to play the leading male role in this play." Everyone's eyes widened when Guez said this. None of them had ever thought that Guez would actually want to act. Moreover, he was very good at making money and was a genius in the business world. But, could he act? The director was sweating silently. "Guez, are you kidding me? You can't even act." Meng Liangting frowned and looked at him with a look of disbelief. Guez glanced at the director. "Director, what do you think?" The director looked embarrassed and uneasy. After all, Xu Weilin's parents were also bigwigs in the industry, so he dared not mess with them. But he couldn't afford to offend Guez either. Just as he was hesitating about how to start the conversation, Zhu Ranran suddenly said, Boss Gu, as the boss of the company, why don't you run the company properly instead of coming here to act like a show? Zhu Ranran stared at Gu Yizi as she spoke, which made him feel very unhappy. The director's heart was beating fast. He was afraid that among all the people present, Zhu Ranran was the only one who dared to say such words. Gu Yizi stared at her. Why, Miss Zhu, you are not convinced? Zhu Ranran sneered. How can you, a businessman who has never studied acting and has no acting experience, play the leading role? Gu Yizi understood what she meant. She just wanted to say that his acting was bad. He must convince these people today. Since you said so, I'll give it a try so that I don't have to shut you up. After Gu Yizi finished speaking, he took the script and glanced at the director. Is it just this scene? The director nodded dumbfoundedly. Yes, yes. Gu Yizi took a quick look and memoized the lines. Let's start shooting, he said, and the director quickly responded. Okay, come to your units and get ready, the male lead audition begins. Meng Liangting looked at Gu Yizi with a serious expression and knew in her heart that he was determined to get the role of the male lead. The director looked at Meng Liangting and smiled flatteringly. Teacher Meng, please help with the play. Meng Liangting nodded, okay, and then stood under the light board. Gu Yizi gathered his emotions for a while, raised his head and met Meng Liangting's eyes. That look was touching. Everyone was watching. After a clip was over, everyone was filled with surprise. Chapter 20, Box Office Hit. After Meng Liangting and Gu Yizi finished acting out this rivalry, she was deeply surprised at Gu Yizi's acting skills. It can be said that his acting is dozens of times better than Xu Weilin's. When the scene ended, the director applauded excitedly. Good, good, well acted, this is what a couple should be like. Gu Yizi smiled proudly and agreed with the director's praise. I didn't expect Mr. Gu's acting skills to be so good. It's even better than those professionally trained actors. The director was a little excited. These were exactly the male and female protagonists he wanted. Xu Weilin looked at the director's attitude, his face full of anger, and gave the director a look. He was so scared that he quickly restrained himself. Gu Yizi glanced at Zhu Ranran and asked calmly, is my acting okay? Zhu Ranran's face turned pale, and she was very angry when she saw those people praising Gu Yizi one by one. These people simply had never seen the world, and she didn't think Gu Yizi's acting was that good. Xu Weilin walked up to Gu Yizi and looked him up and down. Boss Gu, are you trying to steal my job now? Xu Wei felt very angry. Why did this person want to snatch his role? Gu Yizi looked at him with an unconvinced look, and was too lazy to argue with him. He just asked the director, can I play the leading male role with my acting skills? Meng Liangting looked at him, then looked at the director's frightened expression, and tugged at his clothes. She had no idea why Gu Yizi insisted on playing the leading male role. Wasn't this clearly stealing someone else's job? The director looked embarrassed. He looked at Gu Yizi and then at Xu Weilin. Both of these men were big brothers and he was the least favorite of them. In the end, he could only look at Meng Liangting for help. Meng Liangting hurried over and said, Gu Yizi, why do you insist on playing the male lead? He has already been cast, and we have been filming for so many days. How can you ask the director to change him? Gu Yizi looked at her worried expression and thought for a moment, then I can take a step back. Meng Liangting immediately asked after hearing this, what conditions? Gu Yizi smiled evilly, it's very simple, I can only shoot the explicit scenes with you, and I don't need to show my face. Meng Liangting looked incredulous and stared into his eyes, you're dreaming. When the director heard what Gu Ye said, he came over immediately and said, since Mr. Gu said so, then it's settled. After finally getting Gu Yizi to give in, he quickly went along with it and did him a favor. Gu Yizi patted the director on the shoulder, okay, thank you director. The director felt like his soul was about to fly out, and he felt much more at ease after finishing this giant Buddha. Xu Weilin was a little confused when listening to Gu Yizi's words. Why would he rather be a stand-in and film with Meng Liangting? But he didn't think too much about it and continued to work. Gu Yizi stayed on the set and didn't leave. He was supervising Meng Liangting's filming, and he felt uncomfortable whenever she and Xu Weilin got a little close. Zhu Ranran's face was full of confusion when she looked at Yizi. She really couldn't understand what these people were thinking. Not only did she recognize Gu Ye's acting skills, but she also easily agreed to let him join the crew to film. It was really puzzling. However, the matter was a foregone conclusion, and even if Zhu Ranran said anything, it would be useless. Meng Liangting felt a little tired after a whole day of filming. Gu Yizi happened to be there, so she threw the car keys to him. "You drive, I'll take a rest," Meng Liangting said, and then sat in the back and closed her eyes to rest. Gu Yizi drove the car back and was about to wake up Meng Liangting, but when he turned around, he saw that she had fallen asleep. Gu Yizi hesitated for a moment, got out of the car gently, opened the back door, and picked her up gently. Meng Liangting felt herself moving vaguely, and when she opened her eyes she saw Gu Yizi's face. "Hey, why didn't you wake me up?" she asked drowsily. Gu Yizi glanced at her and said, "Aren't you tired?" Meng Liangting just nodded and fell asleep again. Gu Yizi put her on the bed, tucked the quilt in for her, and sat beside the bed looking at her. After acting with her today, Gu Yizi could feel that she was a very good actor. However, he didn't want Meng Liangting to film any scenes with explicit content with others. Even if there were such scenes, he had to do them himself and not let others take advantage. The next day, the director's script was distributed. There was a scene where the heroine, played by Meng Liangting, got drunk and had an ambiguous relationship with the hero in the car. The director specifically notified Gu Yizi. Gu Yizi was still very satisfied with the director's awareness. Meng Liangting woke up, packed up and went to the set. Gu Yizi's scene was in the evening, so he had to go back to see Doubao first, so he didn't go with her. Meng Liangting finished filming until the evening, and it was already the last scene of the day. Gu Yizi arrived very early and was putting on makeup in the dressing room. After everything was ready, the shooting officially started, and the two of them had perfect chemistry. Meng Liangting rode on Gu Yizi's legs and teased him, and Gu Yizi acted out the reluctant but welcoming look very well. The director applauded after watching the film. If Xu Weilin had not been chosen early on, he would have let Gu Yizi play the male lead. After filming a scene, Meng Liangting felt that she had never acted so happily. Just now she was full of emotions, acting very engrossed, and coordinating perfectly with Gu Yizi. After the director called a halt, everyone exclaimed, Look, this is a perfect match, they are so well matched, and the acting is so good." Meng Liangting put on her clothes and felt a little excited when she heard their praises. After returning home, Meng Liangting was still discussing with Gu Yizi, "You performed very well in today's scene." Gu Yizi looked at her with a proud look on his face. "Is my acting not as good as that coward Xu Weilin?" Meng Liangting quickly denied, No, I think filming with you is much better than filming with Xu Weilin." Gu Yizi was very happy to receive this comment and he liked filming with her even more. The two of them worked together like this for a while, and whenever there were any scenes with a little bit of explicitness, Gu Yizi would come up and join in the filming, and the crew successfully completed the filming. Gu Yizi looked at the promotional video edited by the crew. There were some wonderful shots in it. Although his face did not show, he knew that it was him. He had already succeeded by not letting Xu Weilin and Meng Liangting shoot such scenes. The director finished editing the entire film very quickly and kept playing trailers to warm up the film. The online reactions were very positive, and Meng Liangting's fans left messages expressing their anticipation. The director arranged a lot of roadshows, which kept Meng Liangting busy for half a month. A month later, Wangchuan was officially launched and screened in major theaters. Gu Yizi booked several shows by himself and invited all the company employees to watch. Within 1 week of its release, Wangchuan's box office surpassed the previous number 1, becoming the number 1 box office hit in many years. Chapter 21 Favorability. Meng Liangting felt a little satisfied as she watched the rating of Forget River rise continuously. After all, this was her first work in China. Moreover, Meng Liangting's reputation gradually improved, and this drama made Meng Liangting completely famous. She has more and more fans, and the movie box office is so good that the director organized a celebration party, and Meng Liangting invited Gu Yizi to join. After all, if it weren't for Gu Yizi, the filming might not have gone so smoothly. Gu Yizi never liked to attend that kind of dinner party before, but this time he agreed. The two of them arrived at the private room, where everyone was, and were given a surprise as soon as they walked in. Several staff members took the spray gun and sprayed it a few times. "Welcome Teacher Meng." They shouted loudly, and the director also came over. Teacher Meng, President Jiu, Wanchuan's box office is so good thanks to you too. Meng Liangting felt a little flattered. Everyone praised me, I just did what I should do, and I also have many shortcomings. She was surrounded by a group of people, only Zhu Ranran in the corner was looking at Meng Liangting with resentful eyes. She felt it was unfair. Why did everyone only remember the heroine Meng Liangting but no one remembered her? Moreover, after the movie was broadcast, I only gained more than 10,000 fans, which is unfair. Jiu Yizi sat down and looked at the happy faces of those people, feeling somewhat proud. After all, he also had his own contribution in this play, and Xu Weilin's eyes were not very friendly when he looked at Jiu Yizi. He always felt that it was Jiu Yizi who stole his role and limelight. Now that I have Jiu Yizi, no one cares about me and no one praises me. It's like Jiu Yizi is the male lead of this drama. Xu Weilin was unhappy, and the director noticed it, so he tried his best to take care of him. During the meal, the director suddenly talked about his new play that was being prepared. When Meng Liangting heard the news, she felt that she could strike while the iron was hot. However, she couldn't tell the director directly in front of so many people that she wanted to play the female lead. She could only wait until the celebration banquet was over and then go home to chat with the director privately. After Jiu Yizi and the others returned home, Meng Liangting took a shower, got ready, and sent a WeChat message to the director. Director, I heard you say today that you are planning a new play. Can you see if I can play a role? Jiu Yizi looked at Meng Liangting. Aren't you going to take a break? Why are you in such a hurry to take on another role? Meng Liangting thought about it for a while. Now that I have finally accumulated some popularity, of course I have to strike while the iron is hot. Jiu Yizi hesitated for a moment. Actually, I can help you get the role. Meng Liangting quickly refused after hearing this. No, I can rely on my own abilities. As soon as he finished speaking, the director replied, Mr. Meng, if you are interested, I can show you the script. When Meng Liangting heard the director say this, she quickly replied, okay, then send me the script. The director sent the script over without saying a word, and Meng Liangting couldn't wait to open it and take a look. She liked the heroine very much and felt that her personality was very similar to her own. Director, I think this heroine is well written. I can audition if possible. Jiu Yizi glanced at her and said, don't you need to ask your agent? Meng Liangting waved her hand, she listens to me. Jiu Yizi had no way to respond and could only listen to him talking to the director. If teacher Meng wants to try, that's great. There's no need for an audition. Just play the female lead. Meng Liangting was shocked by the director's words, really? I don't need to audition anymore. Meng Liangting found it a little unbelievable. After all, this was not a trivial matter. The director replied, of course it's true. The temperament of this heroine is very consistent with teacher Meng. Just play the role. Meng Liangting didn't expect that getting a role would be so easy. Thank you so much for your trust, director. Please let me know when the audition starts. Meng Liangting said happily, and Jiu Yizi felt relieved when he saw her smile. She is so happy just taking on a role. She is really a contented child. Just as Meng Liangting was about to go to bed after chatting with the director, she received a message. When I opened my phone, I saw that it was a message from Xu Weilin, Teacher Meng, if you have time, can we meet? Meng Liangting didn't know why he wanted to talk to her, but she couldn't refuse him, so she agreed. Xu Weilin sent her the location and time, and the two agreed on where to meet. The next morning, Meng Liangting got up early and packed up simply. Jiu Yizi left early and went to work at the company, leaving Meng Liangting alone at home. She looked at the time, put on some delicate makeup and went out. I arrived at the place where I had agreed to meet Xu Weilin and went into the private room. Xu Weilin should have arrived a long time ago, and it seemed like he had been waiting for a while. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. Is there anything Mr. Xu wants to talk to me about? Meng Liangting put down her bag and sat down, looking at Xu Weilin opposite her. Xu Weilin's attitude was not very good at the beginning. Teacher Meng, is it because you don't want to film those explicit scenes with me that you let Jiu Yizi grab the role? Meng Liangting didn't expect him to ask this, and smiled slightly. Teacher Xu, you misunderstood. I didn't expect Jiu Yizi to come for the audition. Xu Weilin was a little bit unconvinced and looked at her suspiciously. Teacher Meng, you are joking. How can I believe you when you know nothing about your relationship with Jiu Yizi? Meng Liangting heard sarcasm in his tone, but he kept smiling. Teacher Shu, you think too much. We are just friends, nothing more. Xu Weilin's smile was a bit annoying. Friends? You guys really lie without blinking an eye. Meng Liangting could probably guess why he felt this way. It must be because he felt unbalanced because the movie was a big hit at the box office but no one remembered him as the male lead. Meng Liangting still felt a little sympathetic towards her. Teacher Shu, I still have to explain to you about the role. I'm really sorry, but you are still the male lead. I will definitely work with you again if there is a chance in the future. Xu Weilin knew that his attitude was very bad, but he didn't expect Meng Liangting to be so polite in her explanations. Moreover, Meng Liangting showed great grace, and his attitude towards Meng Liangting changed from being unfavorable to being favorable. The two of them were chatting happily, but they didn't pay attention to the people outside. Zhu Ranran passed by and saw Meng Liangting and Xu Weilin meeting privately. She was so jealous that she took out her cell phone and took a picture. Then he sent the photo to Gu Yizi and said a long paragraph to belittle Meng Liangting. Gu Yizi saw the message on his phone and forwarded it directly to Meng Liangting. Chapter 22 Entering the Entertainment Industry. Meng Liangting was driving. She opened her mobile phone and saw the message. She smiled disdainfully and looked disdainful. And sent a voice message to Gu Yizi, this is the only secret photo she has, ignore her. Gu Yizi only replied, I know. Zhu Ranran thought that Gu Yizi would be angry and pursue the matter when he received the news. But I didn't expect that the two of them didn't take this matter seriously at all. Meng Liangting returned home and received a notice from the director asking her to go to the audition site tomorrow. Meng Liangting had been waiting for this news for a long time and quickly replied, okay. When Gu Yizi came back, she specially told him the good news. Gu Yizi could see that she was very happy, so he was happy too. You are the heroine of this play. Don't forget to tell me who the hero is when the time comes. Gu Yizi still has some thoughts about the male lead. After all, he is going to play a couple with Meng Liangting. Although Meng Liangting didn't know what he was thinking, she still agreed. When she arrived at the scene the next day, Meng Liangting saw two familiar people. One is Zhu Ranran, and the other is Xu Weilin. Meng Liangting felt that she owed Xu Weilin for what happened last time, so she went up to him and asked if he would play the male lead. But Xu Weilin shook his head and said, I'm not the male lead in this drama. I've accepted a few variety shows and haven't had much time to film recently. But I'm here to make a friendly guest appearance. Meng Liangting nodded. Since he was not the male lead, she didn't have to think too much about it. Zhu Ranran felt very unhappy watching Meng Liangting and Xu Weilin talking. She stared at the two of them with her fists clenched like a resentful woman. When the director saw Meng Liangting, he quickly called her over and introduced her to the male lead of the play. Teacher Meng, this is Chen Han, the male lead of this play. Teacher Chen, this is Meng Liangting, the female lead of this play. Meng Liangting politely shook hands with Chen Han. Teacher Chen, it's a pleasure to work with you. Meng Liangting spoke very officially, and Chen Han also shook hands with her in a very official manner. The two of them get along pretty well. Zhu Ranran was very unhappy when she heard the director directly announce that Meng Liangting was the female lead. She was not convinced. Why was Meng Liangting the heroine in this drama, while she was cast in a supporting role? Was it because Forgotten River made Meng Liangting's status rise? However, she could not influence the director to choose Meng Liangting. After the auditions, all the actors were cast. When Meng Liangting returned home, Gu Yizi was already sitting on the sofa. As soon as she entered the door, Gu Yizi asked, who is the male lead? Meng Liangting put down her bag and replied, Chen Han. Gu Yizi frowned and thought about who this Chen Han was. In the end, I couldn't figure it out, so I took out my phone and searched on Baidu. This Chen Han debuted as a model. He is very handsome and has been well known in the entertainment industry in the past 2 years. He is a second-tier celebrity. Meng Liangting looked at him carefully, looking at his phone, and asked curiously, what are you looking for? Gu Yizi quickly exited the page. Nothing. Have you decided when to start the filming? Meng Liangting rubbed her neck. Probably at the end of the month. Gu Yizi nodded. Okay, I'll visit the set then. Meng Liangting readily agreed and went to the bathroom to take a shower. Gu Yizi looked at Chen Han's photo silently by himself. During the following period, Meng Liangting was preparing for her new role, while Ji Yizi got to know Chen Han fully. He thought Chen Han was very handsome, and was even a little afraid that Meng Liangting would fall in love with him, so he decided to take more precautions. On the day of filming, Xu Weilin had a role. Meng Liangting didn't think much about it and just went to put on makeup. Xu Weilin got out of the car, holding a big bouquet of roses, and walked straight to Meng Liangting's dressing room. Meng Liangting was reading the script and didn't notice Xu Weilin at all. He didn't want to disturb them, but just waited on the side, but unexpectedly, Ji Yizi came. Ji Yizi wanted to visit the set and take a look at Meng Liangting's filming environment, but as soon as he entered the door, he saw Xu Weilin standing aside with a phone in his hand. His first reaction at that time was that Xu Weilin must be confessing his feelings to Meng Liangting. He directly dragged Xu Weilin out. However, Meng Liangting didn't know what was happening yet. Xu Weilin was dragged out, looking confused. "Boss Ji, why are you pulling me out?" He looked at Ji Yizi with a puzzled look on his face, and Ji Yizi let go of his hand and straightened his clothes. "What do you mean by this flower?" Ji Yizi asked domineeringly. Xu Weilin glanced at the flowers in his arms, which were a little messy, so he quickly tidied them up. "Of course I'm going to give it to Teacher Meng. Do you have any objections, Mr. Ji? Xu Weilin's question was a bit provocative, and Ji Yizi really wanted to hit him, but he suppressed his anger. "Meng Liangting is my woman, do you still want to take advantage of her?" Xu Weilin looked at his confident expression and said, "As far as I know, you and Teacher Meng are not in a romantic relationship, right?" Ji Yizi smiled, which looked a little fake. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Meng Liangting is not someone you can pursue. If you know what's good for you, just give up this idea." Ji Yizi was very domineering, as if Meng Liangting was his wife. Xu Weilin looked at his confident face and snorted coldly. Just as he was about to say something, he was taken away by Ji Yizi's bodyguards. When he arrived at the dressing room, Meng Liangting had already finished her makeup. She was a little surprised to see him. "I said, why are you here again? You come to my place every other day. Does your company not want you anymore?" Ji Yizi only said 2 words, "visiting the set." Meng Liangting thought he might be free, as a boss, not like her. But she didn't ask any further questions. She changed her clothes and went into film. Ji Yizi stayed on the crew all day today and never left, as if he was supervising Meng Liangting. Seeing that he was there, Xu Weilin didn't say anything more to Meng Liangting. After Meng Liangting got off work after filming, Ji Yizi took the initiative to drive her home. In the next few days, Ji Yizi had to stay in the crew for several hours every day. The staff members started to discuss, "Why does Mr. Ji come to our crew every day? Is he attracted to someone? I think Mr. Ji is not interested in someone else, but is supervising Teacher Meng." The 2 staff members gathered together to gossip, and Ji Yizi heard it all clearly. He felt that if he continued like this, he would be without a legitimate reason. He still had to find a legitimate reason. After thinking for a long time, Ji Yizi came up with a solution. So when Meng Liangting was free from filming, he walked over and said to the reporters gathered outside with the director's loudspeaker, "Starting tomorrow, I am going to officially enter the entertainment industry." The reporters outside were all amazed when they heard this. What? Headline news, hurry up and grab it. Chapter 23, Scared by the Child. "Mr. Ji, are you really going to enter the entertainment industry?" A reporter rushed to Ji Yizi and held up a microphone for an interview. Ji Yizi said firmly, "Yes, I will take this opportunity to announce that from today on, I will officially enter the entertainment industry." A group of reporters gathered around her, holding up their microphones, eager to get more gossip from her. "Mr. Ji, why did you suddenly want to enter the entertainment industry?" A reporter asked a sharp question, but Ji Yizi had no intention of evading it. "I plan to develop in multiple fields to make myself more versatile." Ji Yizi answered easily, but the reporters were still not satisfied. "Mr. Ji, did you choose to enter the entertainment industry because of Meng Liangting? What is the relationship between you two?" Ji Yizi looked at the reporter and said with a stern face, "I have finished what I said. I have something else to do, so I'm leaving first." After saying that, Ji Yizi turned around and left, leaving behind a bunch of reporters making a lot of noise. Meng Liangting was a little surprised when she heard what Ji Yizi said. She took advantage of a break in filming to run over and ask him, "Why do you suddenly want to be an artist?" What are you thinking? Gueze drank his coffee calmly. Why can't I be an artist? Meng Liangting was choked by his words and didn't know how to answer for a moment. As the big boss, you can't do whatever you want. No one cares about you. Meng Liangting said somewhat unhappily. Gueze drank the coffee in the cup, stood up, patted the wrinkles on his clothes, and said, I'm leaving. You can go back by yourself tonight. Meng Liangting said, and went to film as well. Gueze left the crew, drove home to see Doubao, and bought a lot of food that the two children liked and brought it back. As soon as he entered the door, Qianbao and Qiando rushed over and shouted, Dad. Then they looked outside the door curiously. Gueze rubbed their little heads and asked, What are you looking at? Qianbao looked behind him and saw that there was no one there, so he asked, Where's the pretty mom? Gueze put the two children on the ground. She is working, she will come back to see you when she is done. Doubao felt a little disappointed, but Gueze used delicious food to rekindle their interest. The two children ate and played at the same time. Gueze told them what happened in the past few days. Qiando shouted, Who dares to chase our beautiful mother? Then Qianbao also shouted, The beautiful mother belongs to us and Dad, who dares to have ideas about her? Gueze was amused by the two little guys. You two may be young but you have big tempers. Doubao's face was puffed up with anger, and he was ready to settle the score with Xu Weilin. The next afternoon, the two children got out of school, and Gueze's assistant went to pick them up. Doubao got in the car and said to the assistant, Uncle Ju, we want to see our beautiful mother. Can you take us there? The assistant looked at the two children with some embarrassment. After thinking it over, he still felt that he should report to Gueze, so he picked up the phone and asked, Hello, Mr. Gu, the young master and the young lady want to go see Miss Meng. Gueze hesitated for a moment and agreed, Okay, take good care of the child. Assistant, hey, and hung up the phone. Qianbao couldn't wait to ask, Uncle Ju, did Dad agree? The assistant nodded, Yes, I'll take you there right away. Doubao immediately became excited. His assistant drove the car to the set. Meng Liangting was filming, so he could only wait in the lounge with Doubao. As they were waiting, Xu Weilin passed by the door. Doubao saw him and shook his assistant's arm. Uncle Ju, we want to go out and watch our beautiful mother filming. You wait here. The assistant was a little worried and wanted to go with them, but the two children refused righteously. Uncle Ju, let's just go secretly. What if you go and affect our beautiful mother's filming? The assistant hesitated for a moment, and the two children took the opportunity to run out and catch up with Xu Weilin, who was walking in front. Hey, you must be Xu Weilin. Qiando called Xu Weilin's name in a baby voice. Xu Weilin turned around and looked at the two little guys in surprise, and smiled, Whose children are you? Qiando narrowed her eyes and looked at him. You want to pursue my beautiful mother, right? His words surprised Xu Weilin, but he still asked in a good-tempered manner, Who is your beautiful mother? Qianbao pointed at Meng Liangting outside the corridor and said, Look, that's her. Xu Weilin was a little surprised. Could it be that Meng Liangting really had a child? Uncle, I advise you not to set your sights on my beautiful mother. Don't get close to her. She is ours. Qianbao warned Xu Weilin in a fierce voice. Xu Weilin was a little surprised that the two children kept calling her beautiful mother. Are you really her children? He asked with a frown. Qianbao put his hands on his hips and said, Of course, stay away from her next time, or we will beat you. After Qianbao finished speaking, he took his brother and left. Xu Weilin looked at the two little guys and felt a little bit unbelieving. Are these really Meng Liangting's children? He thought about it and felt it was impossible, and he was unwilling to believe it. Zhu Ranran was watching all this from behind them. She could tell that Xu Weilin didn't believe that Meng Liangting had a child, and she also knew that Xu Weilin had a crush on Meng Liangting, and she felt a little jealous. These two children are Meng Liangting's, don't you believe it? Zhu Ranran said as she walked towards Xu Weilin. Xu Weilin heard her voice and smiled politely. Teacher Zhu, what do you want to tell me? Zhu Ranran looked like she knew everything and leaned over. Don't you know that Meng Liangting had an affair with Gueze and signed a contract with him to be a surrogate mother, selling herself out? Xu Weilin was very unhappy when he heard her say that Meng Liangting was so unwilling. Teacher Zhu, why are you always talking about others behind their backs? I remember that it was you who made up these things. Zhu Ranran looked unhappy after hearing this, but she still said to him, No matter who said these things, she did those things. How can you speak for someone like her? Seeing her puzzled expression, Xu Weilin snorted coldly, Teacher Ju, you probably haven't experienced the feeling of someone speaking for you, so you're acting so weird. Ju Ranran was choked by him and didn't know what to say for a moment. She looked at him awkwardly, Teacher Xu, you are obviously a smart person, why do you always say such confusing things? Ju Ranran looked at him in confusion. Xu Weilin felt that he could no longer communicate with her and just left. Chapter 24. Is this the reason? Ju Ranran looked at Xu Weilin's back and stomped her feet in anger. This Xu Weilin really doesn't know what's good for him. Ju Ranran muttered to herself, turned around and walked away angrily. Meng Liangting had finished filming, and when she heard Doubao had arrived she hurried to meet them. Beautiful mother, are you done with work? Doubao asked while sitting on her. Meng Liangting shook her head, not yet, there is still a scene. Tianbao pouted, okay, let's wait for the beautiful mother to get off work and go home together. Meng Liangting nodded, okay, then you just wait here for me, I'll take you back after I finish filming. The crew members and actors saw Meng Liangting holding two little kids in her arms and surrounded her one by one. These are Mr. Gu's children, right? Teacher Meng, you are so lucky to have these two children like you so much. I am so enviable. An actor praised Meng Liangting, and others also began to praise her. Yes, I heard that most people don't like these two children. They like Teacher Meng so much, it seems that it is because Teacher Meng is charming enough. Ju Ranran passed by them and listened to their words. She was burning with jealousy and clenched her fists silently. Returning to her own lounge, Ju Ranran looked at herself in the mirror and felt uncomfortable when she thought of Meng Liangting being treated like a star. She was not convinced. Why was Meng Liangting liked by so many people, but no one paid any attention to her room? It must be Meng Liangting who stole her limelight, and she could not tolerate it. Ju Ranran thought so in her heart and decided to take action to discipline Meng Liangting and dampen her fighting spirit. After thinking it over, she finally came up with a solution. It just so happens that her birthday is in 3 days, and Ju Ranran wants to take this opportunity to invite Meng Liangting and then make her make a fool of herself at her birthday party. So she asked someone to buy the invitations, and when she got them, she gave them to Meng Liangting first. Meng Liangting had just removed her makeup and was about to leave. A bunch of people surrounded her, and Ju Ranran walked in directly. Teacher Meng, are you done filming? I have something to give you. Ju Ranran said this and sat down without any hesitation. Meng Liangting felt that she had no good intentions and wanted to refuse, but seeing so many people around, it was not easy to say it directly. She could only wait and see what tricks she was up to. Teacher Ju, what do you want to give me? Meng Liangting stared at Ju Ranran with her big eyes. Ju Ranran handed her the invitation with a fake smile on his face. Teacher Meng, my birthday is in 3 days. I'm holding a birthday party. I hope you can come, she said with a forced smile. Meng Liangting looked at the group of people around her. If she refused, she would seem ungraceful, so she had no choice but to agree. Okay, since it's Teacher Ju's birthday, I will definitely go. Seeing that she agreed, Ju Ranran stood up and left, leaving behind a sentence, Teacher Meng, I'll be waiting for you. Meng Liangting didn't say anything, just put the invitation in her bag and left with her 2 children. The assistant drove and asked Meng Liangting where she was going. Meng Liangting thought of Ju Ranran and said, go buy clothes. The assistant nodded and drove directly. Tianbao and Qiando held Meng Liangting's hand. Beautiful mother, the woman just now was a bad person. Meng Liangting was a little surprised at what they said. How do you know she is a bad person? Tianbao pouted, we heard it from Dad. Meng Liangting nodded, feeling a little curious. When did Gu Yizi become such a gossipy person? The car drove to the mall. Meng Liangting got out and took Doubao to buy clothes. It was Ju Ranran's birthday, so she definitely couldn't wear something ugly. After a long walk, Meng Liangting gained a lot and happily took the bean buns home. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. On Ju Ranran's birthday, Meng Liangting dressed up specially. The black slim dress showed off her perfect figure. Her long black hair was tucked behind her ears, making her look capable and elegant. Gu Yizi also brought Doubao with him, and the 4 of them went to Ju Ranran's birthday party together. As soon as they entered the door, they were surrounded by a crowd of people. Meng Liangting looked at these flatterers and felt a little tired of dealing with them, so she took the 2 little kids to play aside. The 2 children surrounded Meng Liangting, playing and fighting, and Gu stood in the distance, watching them silently. He thought this scene was harmonious and warm, but as he thought about it, Gu suddenly realized something. He frowned and said, "Why would I think about this? This woman." Gu muttered to himself, and then heard Zhu Ranran talking to Xu Weilin behind him. "You saw how close these two children are to Meng Liangting. She is an unmarried woman, and she gave birth to a child with someone outside the circle. How embarrassing it would be if people spread the news." Gu frowned as he listened to Zhu Ranran's words. He felt very unhappy and wanted to teach Zhu Ranran a lesson, so he asked the bartender for a glass of wine and walked straight towards the two of them. "What are you two talking about?" Gu asked, looking at them expectantly. Zhu Ranran knew something was up when she saw him, and took a step back. "We didn't talk about anything, just the story of a female celebrity giving birth to a child outside the entertainment industry." Gu looked at her with an ugly expression. "Really? Why does it sound like you are talking about Meng Liangting again?" Zhu Ranran sneered. "You also know that you look like Meng Liangting. Why, you also want to hear what I say? Do you want me to tell you again?" Xu Weilin frowned as he watched the two of them refusing to give in to each other. Gu gave a wicked smile and looked at Zhu Ranran. "The relationship between Meng Liangting and I is not something you can judge. We were lovers before, but we didn't make it public. After giving birth to the child, Meng Liangting started acting to pursue her dream. How come this matter becomes so unbearable when it comes to you?" Gu took a sip of wine as he spoke. This sentence praised Meng Liangting. Zhu Ranran's face was not very good and she glared at Gu. "Of course you can say whatever you want about these trivial things between you two." Gu shook her head, as if she didn't understand anything. "You are really wrong. You don't understand the relationship between us. However, you know nothing and you are slandering others here. How noble can your own character be?" Zhu Ranran's face turned blue with anger. Xu Weilin, who was standing beside her, seemed to see the relationship between them as he listened to Gu defending Meng Liangting. He felt that the reason why Meng Liangting rejected him was because of Gu. It must be like this. Thinking of this, Xu Weilin felt a little dissatisfied. Chapter 25, Escape. Xu Weilin felt unhappy when he saw Gu and Meng Liangting standing so close to each other. He clenched his fists silently, his eyes burning with anger. Zhu Ranran noticed his mood and asked softly, "Are you angry now?" Xu Weilin turned around and glared at her. "Shut up." Zhu Ranran knew he was unhappy when she heard what he said. She thought about it and raised her hand with the wine glass. "Are you interested in cooperating?" Xu Weilin looked at her. "What cooperation?" Zhu Ranran showed a wicked smile. "We can cooperate on how to deal with Meng Liangting and make her come to you in an orderly manner." When Xu Weilin heard this, he was a little tempted. "Do you have any ideas?" He was not as good as Zhu Ranran at playing tricks on people. Zhu Ranran smiled wickedly. "The more you make Meng Liangting miserable, the more she will discover your goodness and come to you." Xu Weilin actually believed her lies. "Okay, tell me what ideas you have, I want to hear them." Zhu Ranran thought about it and came up with a good idea. Why not add something to her water to make her look bad? Although Xu Weilin agreed, he still felt a little reluctant. "What kind of medicine do you want to give her? It won't harm her body, right?" Zhu Ranran shook her head. "Don't worry, it won't happen. I'm just trying to embarrass her. She will definitely ask you for help then." Xu Weilin was moved when he heard the second half of her sentence. "Okay, that's settled, let's act quickly." Zhu Ranran nodded, turned around and went downstairs to make the arrangements, but she was a very smart person and naturally would not do it herself. She thought about it for a long time but couldn't figure out who would be the right person. Finally, she looked at her assistant and suddenly smiled. "Xiaoshu, come here." Zhu Ranran waved to her assistant to come over. "What's the matter?" the assistant asked. Zhu Ranran took her hand and said, "I'm going to give you a task, you must do it well." The assistant nodded quickly. "Tell me what's going on." Zhu Ranran handed a small bottle to the assistant. "Put this in Meng Liangting's drink." The assistant was a little surprised when he heard this. "Isn't this a bad idea?" Zhu Ranran said, "TSK. There's nothing wrong with it, just do it, and I'll give you a salary increase of 1,000 yuan a month." When the assistant heard about the salary increase, she was excited. "Okay, then I'll try it." She took the bottle and walked towards Meng Liangting. Meng Liangting was discussing what had just happened with Gu. She felt very happy after listening to what Gu Yizi said. She didn't notice the two little kids going out to find something delicious. Zhu Ranran's assistant moved closer with the small bottle and saw that Meng Liangting was not looking at this side. His eyes were looking at Meng Liangting's water cup. There were some drinks poured inside. The assistant was very nervous as it was the first time to do such a thing and was a little afraid to do it. Just when she had finally prepared herself mentally for the fight, she heard two children shouting behind her, "Stop!" The assistant was startled and his grip loosened, causing the entire bottle to fall into Meng Liangting's cup. Meng Liangting and Gu Yizi looked back at the same time. "You bad guy, what are you going to give to my beautiful mother?" Tiando said as he walked over. The assistant was a little scared. Looking at Meng Liangting and Gu Yizi walking over, his heart was about to jump out and his face was full of panic. Meng Liangting was a little surprised, looking at the two angry little balls. "What's wrong, what's wrong?" Meng Liangting asked, picking them both up, and Tiando pointed at the assistant. "We too just saw this person trying to drug you." Meng Liangting was surprised when she heard this, a little angry. "Why, are you here to harm me?" Tianbao looked at the assistant. She is the assistant named Zhu Ranran. Gu Yizi also came over and looked at the assistant, his eyes wide open. "Are you Zhu Ranran's assistant? Did she send you to drug her?" The assistant's legs went weak at that moment, and he looked scared. I didn't." Doubao got out of Meng Liangting's arms angrily. Pointing at the assistant, he said, "It was obviously you. I saw it all. Children don't lie. Only adults like you lie. You are not honest at all." Meng Liangting's face looked very unhappy, and she said to Ji Yuyez on the side, "It seems that we need to have a good talk with Zhu Ranran." Ji Yizi took 2 or 3 steps to Zhu Ranran, looked very angry, and grabbed her arm. "Come with me." After saying that, Ji Yizi dragged her to the middle of the crowd without saying anything. At this time, everyone had gathered around. Zhu Ranran looked at the assistant who was standing in the middle and crying with fear, her eyes somewhat evasive. "Why did you arrest me?" Ji Yizi fished out the bottle and threw it on the ground. "Did you instigate this?" Zhu Ranran's face changed. Seeing the strange looks from the people around her, her first reaction was to hide. But if she had liked this, wouldn't she be feeling guilty? "I didn't, please don't slander me," Zhu Ranran argued, and Tiando stood up directly. "Bad guy, you are bad guy, you wanted to drug the beautiful mother, I saw it all." The people around began to talk. How could Zhu Ranran have such a bad character that he actually wanted to drug people? Yes, she is obviously just jealous, and she even let her assistant do it. She is so heartless. Meng Liangting looked at Zhu Ranran's evasive gaze and walked over to grab her wrist. "Zhu Ranran, if you want to hurt me, just say it directly. What's the point of doing these shameful things?" It was also the first time that Ji Yizi saw Meng Liangting so domineering. He didn't need to do anything himself. He just put his hands on his shoulders and watched quietly. Come on, everyone, come and take a look. Zhu Ranran actually drugged me on my birthday. Isn't she afraid of being embarrassed?" Tianbao said fiercely, "This person is really too mean, he is just jealous of my beautiful mother." Meng Liangting looked at Zhu Ranran with murderous eyes. "You have hurt me time and time again, and I didn't care. Today you are so excessive. It seems that you will not give up until I settle the score with you." Zhu Ranran looked at the gazes of the people around her and felt a little scared. She shook off Meng Liangting's hand and ran away. When Xu Weilin saw Meng Liangting like this, he liked her even more. He thought Meng Liangting had always been gentle, but he didn't expect that she had such a side. It was really attractive. The news that Zhu Ranran drugged Meng Liangting on her birthday spread instantly. Half of the people in the entertainment industry were talking about it, saying that Zhu Ranran was extremely jealous and wanted to drug Meng Liangting, but failed and forced her to leave her birthday party. Chapter 26 Hacked Again. For a time, Zhu Ranran's reputation became bad again. Meng Liangting became a recognized victim in everyone's eyes, and Zhu Ranran was so embarrassed that he dared not go out. Meng Liangting was so happy when she saw Zhu Ranran running away. She returned home and left the 2 little kids to sleep in the same bed with her. The 2 little guys were lying on the soft bed, looking at Meng Liangting with a smile. "Pretty mom, we did such a good thing today, shouldn't you thank us?" Meng Liangting looked at the 2 little guys, who seemed to be holding back something, so she followed their words and asked, "What reward do you want?" "Actually, our requirements are not high. Tianbao said coquettishly, and Meng Liangting touched their two little heads. You guys did such a great job, I will definitely reward you well. Tell me, what do you want? Meng Liangting looked at the two little guys expectantly. Tianbao and Qindo looked at each other, smiled, and then said in unison, we want our beautiful mom to marry our dad. When Meng Liangting heard what they said, her smile froze on her face. She was very surprised. What did you two say? Qindo repeated, didn't pretty mommy say she would reward us? Then we want you to marry daddy, can we? Meng Liangting was surprised by their sudden words and smiled awkwardly. Why do you think so? Jiu Yizi was also a little surprised when he looked at the two little guys, but he was actually looking forward to Meng Liangting's answer in his heart. He didn't even know why he thought so. Was it because of the contractual relationship between the two of them? Jiu Yizi thought about it over and over again, but still couldn't figure out what he was thinking and why he was so inexplicably looking forward to it. Qindo held Meng Liangting's hand and said coquettishly, beautiful mother, since you have already agreed to be our mother, then marry daddy. Tianbao also begged for mercy, and even started to promote her own father. Beautiful mother, look at my father, he is so handsome, rich, and gentle, just marry him. Jiu Yizi was a little amused when listening to their words and thought that these two little guys were so adorable. This matter still needs further consideration. You two should stop discussing it for now. I'm going to go take off my makeup first. Meng Liangting was very embarrassed and quickly ran to the bathroom to relieve herself. Jiu Yizi looked at the two little guys, squatted down and asked, are you really willing to let her be your mother? Qindo and Tianbao nodded in unison, yes, beautiful mom is good in every way, we only recognize her. Jiu Yizi really didn't expect that these two children would like Meng Liangting so much, but judging from Meng Liangting's reaction just now, she probably didn't want to, or she hadn't thought about it yet, so he didn't continue. In fact, he himself had not decided whether he would marry Meng Liangting if the two children asked him to. He felt that his feelings towards Meng Liangting were very confusing. He was emotionally confused when looking at her. Jiu Yizi had never felt this way in all his years. Meng Liangting washed her face several times in the bathroom, but her face was still red. She was very embarrassed by what these two little guys said. I didn't know how to face it for a moment, and could only wait until the two children forgot about it before going out. After waiting for the two children to forget about playing, Meng Liangting hurriedly walked out and lay on the bed, avoiding the sight of the two children. Meng Liangting hid for a whole night before she managed to avoid the incident. The next morning, when Meng Liangting turned on her mobile phone, she found a piece of news about herself, which was on the hot search again. Meng Liangting is now a little afraid of being on the hot searches, because she hasn't had any good hot searches in recent times. As she expected, this hot search was about her own negative material again. The media broke the news that she had not married Jiu Yizi, that they had a child out of wedlock, and that they had been connected with each other for a long time. Many people accused Meng Liangting of being shameless, and some people commented that it was Meng Liangting who was shameless for keeping pestering Jiu Yizi. And those two children were not her biological children. Meng Liangting felt a headache when she looked at the hot search and rubbed her temples. There's never a peaceful day. It's really hard to survive in the entertainment industry. Meng Liangting sighed, feeling a little uncomfortable. These people were slandering her and speaking so harshly. Although she knew in her heart that what they said was not true, she was still very sad. Then someone brought out the article Ju Ranran had posted before. Look, this article may not be all false. I now think that Meng Liangting really did something like this. Meng Liangting really admired these people's memory. They could remember such things so clearly. She felt helpless and helpless. Suddenly she felt a little tired and lying on the bed, she had a premonition that this time the storm would not be settled so easily. Jiu Yizi accidentally saw the news while working in the office and found that Meng Liangting was pushed to the hot search again. He instantly had an ominous premonition. He opened the trending searches and saw that they were indeed articles about the relationship between the two of them. He really hates this kind of behavior, but seeing the comments below, he felt a little unhappy. Many internet trolls started posting negative reviews, and some even slandered Meng Liangting's previous film, Forget River. Jiu Yizi felt that they were going too far. But he couldn't say anything. He was waiting for Meng Liangting to ask him for help, waiting for Meng Liangting to speak. But a whole day passed, and Meng Liangting didn't say a word to him until the evening, which surprised Jiu Yizi. This time the incident is quite serious. Meng Liangting's Weibo has been flooded with comments and everyone is asking her to get out of the entertainment industry as soon as possible. How can someone like Meng Liangting be in the entertainment industry? Get out now. This is the most eye-catching comment. Jiu Yizi felt angry when he saw this, but Zhu Ranran was very happy. Seeing Meng Liangting being slandered so badly, she felt happier than ever before. Before, there were a lot of people scolding her under her Weibo, but in the blink of an eye, these people disappeared. When she looked again, they all went to Meng Liangting to scold her. Meng Liangting stayed in her room the whole day without going out and without eating. She didn't understand why these people wanted to slander her with just a few words. She wanted to fight back and tried to use her trumpet to say something good about herself, but she was immediately besieged by a large group of people. You actually think Meng Liangting is a good person, are you blind? Meng Liangting has a corrupt character. People like her should get out of the entertainment industry. Chapter 27 Pretending to be noble? Meng Liangting was in a bad mood after being criticized. She turned off the computer with a bang. With an annoyed look on her face, she scratched her hair and fell headfirst on the bed. The severity of the incident this time was still very serious. The overwhelming public opinion on the internet weighed down on Meng Liangting, making it hard for her to breathe. She lay on the bed, mentally preparing herself, staring at the light on the ceiling, lost in thought for a while. She was thinking that she must be strong and not be controlled by those villains. The more they try to prevent her from surviving in the entertainment industry, the more she wants to survive. The more people dislike her, the more she wants to piss them off to death. However, as the saying goes, misfortunes never come singly. Meng Liangting had just accepted the fact that she was being blacklisted by the entire internet, and then her agent called her. Hey, Liangting, I have bad news for you. The heroines for the TV shows that we had previously agreed on have all been replaced. Meng Liangting took a deep breath, paused, and replied, Okay, I got it. After that, the agent hung up the phone. Meng Liangting sat in the room and sneered, It's true that people are forgotten when they leave. They are all a bunch of snobs. All the popularity she had worked so hard to build up was gone just like that, and she didn't even have any popularity among the public anymore. Meng Liangting felt exhausted both physically and mentally. She made a cup of coffee and sat in front of the window in a daze, as if there was nothing she could do except let go. Meng Liangting knew in her heart that this was probably done by Zhu Ranran. She really admired Zhu Ranran's energy and she didn't feel tired at all. But after careful consideration, she decided to just take this time as a vacation to rest and prepare to fight again when she is ready. Thinking this, Meng Liangting didn't touch her phone or computer for the whole day and completely ignored the comments on the internet. That night, Jiu Yizi worked overtime at the company and came back very late. When he entered the room, he saw Meng Liangting was asleep, so he did not wake her up, but just quietly took a shower and went to bed. The next morning, as soon as Meng Liangting opened her eyes, she saw a message on her mobile phone, See you at the same cafe at 3 p.m. Meng Liangting looked at the person who sent the message. It was Xu Weilin. She hesitated whether to go or not, but she didn't want to break the promise, so she could only reply with an okay. Then I put down my phone and opened the refrigerator to find something to eat, but found that the refrigerator was empty. Meng Liangting suddenly lost interest and fell directly on the bed to continue sleeping. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Meng Liangting woke up and began to wash and dress up. She felt that no matter what, she had to dress elegantly and not let the media and paparazzi capture her in a disheveled state. She carefully put on makeup, put on new clothes, went out, and kept an eye out for paparazzi along the way. Finally, she arrived at the cafe. Xu Weilin went there early anyway and waited there. Meng Liangting pushed the door open and walked in. When she saw him, she asked, What do you want to talk to me about? She got straight to the point, but Xu Weilin didn't seem to be in a hurry. Sit down and have a cup of coffee, the coffee here is delicious. Meng Liangting was a little surprised, but she still sat down. You asked me to meet you at this time, there must be something going on. Meng Liangting looked at Xu Weilin's face and asked. Xu Weilin smiled and said, I know what happened to you yesterday. I actually want to help you. Meng Liangting frowned, a little confused, Help me, why do you want to help me? She thought that they rarely interacted with each other and did not have much friendship, so why would Xu Weilin want to help her for no reason? Xu Weilin smiled and said, Of course it's because I like you. Xu Weilin said this directly, which surprised Meng Liangting a little. Like me? Don't be kidding. Meng Liangting said in disbelief, and Xu Weilin curled his lips. You don't believe it? I've fallen deeply in love with you since the last time you met me in this cafe, so as long as you are willing to be with me, I can help you. Meng Liangting smiled politely. You are joking. Xu Weilin frowned. I am not joking, what I said is true. I can help you get better roles, and I can also help you settle this storm. Seeing his serious expression, Meng Liangting refused. No, I can handle my own problems. Xu Weilin frowned. You don't even want my help. You also know the status of my father and mother in the entertainment industry. If I'm willing to help, you won't have to go through this. Meng Liangting shook her head. Don't bother. If I can't solve this problem, then I naturally don't need to stay in this entertainment industry. Xu Weilin didn't expect that she would have this attitude and actually refused his help. She was the first in the entire entertainment industry. Don't act so noble here. You have to know that this is no small matter. If you refuse me, I'm afraid no one will be willing to help you. Meng Liangting nodded. I know. Looking at the entire entertainment industry, who wants to get involved in this mess? Xu Weilin listened to her words and slapped the table excitedly. I am willing. I have been saying that I am willing. I am willing to help you settle these things, as long as you are with me. Seeing how excited he was, Meng Liangting quickly put down the cup in her hand and took a defensive stance. I appreciate your kindness, but I have also made it very clear, thank you. Xu Weilin's eyes were filled with anger. Are you pretending to be noble with me now? Meng Liangting shook her head. I don't mean that. Xu Weilin frowned. You gave birth to a child out of wedlock and abandoned your family. I know all these things. I don't despise you, but you are still pretending to be noble in front of me? Is that interesting? Meng Liangting felt that the person in front of her was a little unreasonable and she felt a little disgusted. In addition, she had experienced all those bad things in the past 2 days, which made her feel very unhappy. She couldn't help but mock him. As far as I know, you are where you are today because of your parents. Is it wrong for me to want to help myself with my own efforts? Do you think everyone has to rely on others like you? This was the first time in Xu Weilin's life that he heard someone mocking him like this. It made him feel very uncomfortable and a little angry for a moment. What do you mean? You're wasting my kindness like this. Meng Liangting crossed her arms and looked at him. Do I have to accept your kindness? What are you thinking? Xu Weilin was a little sad and looked annoyed. Okay, this is what you said. You don't need my help, don't regret it. Meng Liangting stood up, picked up her sunglasses, put them on, and left.